Part 8. The Breakdown. Nanalis, Shy Lily, and almost a dozen of my friends planned the original documents about me. It took them 2 days to decide to cancel me. Everything was dropped on me out of nowhere, and somehow I was expected to have the perfect response to the claims they had already determined I was guilty of. When I first started this document, I thought my friends all lied about me, Red, and Nano to protect her and hurt me. I couldn't understand why, but as things came together, I was no longer convinced that was the case. It didn't make sense for any of my closest friends. It didn't make sense for all of my closest friends to maliciously and willingly lie to the public about me at a moment's notice, no matter what they thought I did to them. However, there's one thing I believe happened that would connect all of their lies back to one place. At the start of this document, I said I was convinced there were two people who drastically influenced how things played out before and after my cancellation. Shy Lily lied to Nanalis about her own actions towards me, telling Nanalis she was being manipulated when she wasn't. Under the excuse of manipulation that Shy Lily gave her, I believe Nanalis lied to everyone about her experience with Red and I to avoid accountability for any of her own actions. With Shy Lily supporting her, they lied to my friends, and they lied to you. I believe my friends were manipulated by the last people they'd expect to be manipulators. I believe what my other friends did and said were because they were misinformed about what really happened and were convinced to see things the way they weren't. All of them were making or supporting accusations against me that happened over years, when the timeline for the things those accusations were based on was really only 5 to 8 months long, leading up to my cancellation on 4/26/2025. They were operating under a different set of information than me, and they used what they already knew to jump to conclusions. They may have also been manipulated not to contact me or Red for our side of the story because it contradicted what was being told to them. In this section, I'll be breaking down the documents and statements from Nanalis, Bao, Shy Lily, and my other friends who were involved. I use their own words and all of the evidence in the past few sections to build a timeline of events, address their claims, and draw conclusions about how and why things happened the way they did. Every topic is separated, and all dates are timed in EST. Screenshots that are directly taken of another document are highlighted in orange, dates and important messages with any screenshots highlighted in yellow. Video timestamps are linked directly and highlighted in green. Any section based on speculation is labeled in pink. Who was involved before anything was public? Nanalis. Nana was the source of all the Discord screenshots that were the starting point for all of the claims I followed. She posted the first document. Shy Lily. Shy Lily was the first person Nana contacted about Red's DMs. She was involved in everything from the start. Bao. Red's messages to Nano about Bao were the heart of their claims. She was included as soon as she was able after her surgery. She posted her document minutes after Nano. Numi. Numi's involvement is evidenced by Shy Lily's knowledge of my private DMs with her about her concert. She also gave a list of people who were involved on her stream on 4/28/2025. The three other girly pops. I don't believe they were a major part of planning anything that happened and had no malicious involvement. They were only brought into this to help corroborate things the rest of them talked about. Buff Pup and the other 3 VT Bond members. Numi said that Buff and the other 3 VT Bond members were also included in their calls together. On Buff's streams from 7/22/2025, she basically said she and a lot of other people were involved before things were made public. The VOD of this stream was made private within a week or 2 of it happening. Sacramore. Bao's video editor Sac had his document written and posted shortly after Bao's. What Red said to Nano about Bao in January was about him too. Of these 12 people, no one contacted me before everything was made public, and only one of them reached out to me right afterwards. I don't have evidence of anyone else being included on this list, although there's more people I suspect to have at least been aware of what was happening beforehand, if not also involved in the planning themselves. I do not believe anyone else who was mentioned in Nano's document were involved at all in the planning of anything beforehand, including Cotton, Silverveil, and Spite. As Nano's document states, their names were censored in it because none of them gave their consent for them to appear before it was posted. Seeing as they all made it known their names were the ones censored shortly after, they must have only been contacted very shortly before it was posted. Cotton tweeted one of Nano's screenshots with her name uncensored about 2 hours after her document was posted, and Silverveil and Spite posted their own documents and Nano screenshots about 14 and 8 hours after Nano's respectively. Note, any names that are censored here were censored because the creator in question did not provide consent to have their name revealed by the time of me posting this document. The 17-day timeline. 4/11/2025 to 4/28/2025. This is the timeline of what happened, starting with Red's messages to Nano about Shy Lily on 4/11 and ending with Shy Lily's stream on 4/28. 4/11/2025. Red saw Nano working on a model for Shy Lily on her stream and messaged her about it. 4/12/2025. Red messaged Nano about Shy Lily again and talked about her behavior towards me recently. This was the last time Nano messaged either one of us. 4/14/2025 or 4/15/2025. Nano showed Shy Lily the things Red said about her. She was the first person Nano spoke to about it. Shy Lily told Nano Red was manipulating her, leading to Nano leaking more of their DMs. Shy Lily told her to contact the people affected, including Bao. Speculation. Whether Nano decided to show Shy Lily more of the messages with Red herself, or Shy Lily actually asked if Red ever said anything about anyone else, I can't say for certain, but can't rule out the possibility. How much of the context and content of her messages Nano showed to Shy Lily is also unknown. Shy Lily convinced Nano she was being lied to, used, and manipulated. Shy Lily could have also instructed Nano to end contact and cut ties with Red and I, who she warned would continue to lie and manipulate her if she didn't. 4/15/2025. I messaged Bosca since I hadn't heard from Shy Lily directly in weeks. He implied she'd be too busy to plan anything with me anytime soon. I messaged Nano for the last time, asking her to come on my stream again. She never replied. Akira, Nano's new manager, messaged Red about Nano parting ways with us due to artistic burnout. 4/16/2025. Red messaged Akira again for more clarification on what was happening with Nano. 4/18/2025. Nano did not message Bao. Shy Lily did instead, telling her that they needed to talk. Bao told Shy Lily she wasn't in the right headspace and to wait until after her surgery. However, it was rescheduled for Monday, 4/21/2025. They did not talk until after Bao recovered from surgery. Speculation. Nano could have messaged Bao about this too, like Shy Lily suggested, but apparently didn't. Shy Lily was the one to reach out to Bao to tell her this information. Why? 4/21/2025, 4/23/2025. Speculation. Sometime between these dates was when my other friends first were informed and got involved in what was happening. A few of them had plans to go to a Ren fair between the 18th and 20th. Red and I were originally supposed to go too, but had to cancel because of family plans for Easter. I don't think Shy Lily would have told any of them about this while on their trip between these dates. The last message from any of my friends was from Numi in our DMs on the night of the 21st. It was uncharacteristically short. Sinder says, "Hi Numi, hope you're feeling okay. I've seen you tweeting about your asthma and wanted to see how you were. I hope Ren Fair was fun time for everyone too." And Numi said, "Thank you, Sinder. Slowly just getting back to breathing again normally," with an emoji. On our stream on 7/22/2025, Buff said that with the fire VTuber that happened recently, a lot of us didn't say anything until the person who was affected said something. And we all went to said person and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And they said, "I want to do this." And we said, "Okay, girl, like you go do that and we'll be here to support it." The way Buff said this implies that my friends all knew about what happened before the person who was affected, Bao, was even involved because of her surgery. A lot of us didn't say anything until the person who was affected said something. Isn't talking about saying something publicly because right after, Buff said that they asked the person what they wanted to do about the situation, which Bao revealed was her choice. The VOD of this stream was made private within a week or two of it happening. 4/21/2025. I sent my last message to Shy Lily to talk about whatever was going on between us. She never replied. Red sent a final message to Akira about Nano. Bao underwent her surgery and started recovery. 4/23/2025. Bao finally talked with Shy Lily about what was going on, and they made a group chat to gather evidence, collaborate stories, and planned the documents together. Bao's editor, Sakamore, was involved sometime after this, most likely by her. Bao's document said, "I found out about this less than 48 hours ago. At the time, it was posted on the night of the 25th PST. And Lily said this was 5 days before her stream on the 28th. Speculation. It's possible that Bao's other editors, including my own video editor, may have known about this ahead of time too. 4/25 in PST, 4/26 in EST. Nano's, Bao's, and Sakamore's documents were posted within the same 23-minute span. Nano's at 1:42 a.m. EST. Bao's just 6 minutes later at 1:48 a.m. EST. And Sakamore 17 minutes after that at 2:05 a.m. EST. Sometime during this, both Red and I sent separate messages to Nano that were soon deleted, followed by her blocking us. Speculation. The documents were posted together in the middle of the night in my time zone, so I'd be asleep when it happened. I wouldn't have a chance to do or say anything to anyone before their narrative about me was widespread. Out of Shy Lily's fear of me manipulating my way out of it. Shortly before, Cotton, Silverveil, and Spite were contacted about their inclusion and possibly encouraged to make their own statements, evident by their names still being censored in Nano's document when it was posted, but Cotton tweeting one of Nano's uncensored screenshots just 2 hours after. and Silver and Spite's documents posted the next day, including Nano's DM screenshots too, with their own names uncensored. They weren't contacted by Nano, but I believe by Shy Lily, just like Bao was. I had a fight and falling out with Red before 3:29 a.m. EST, which led me to firing him at 4:24 a.m. EST. The documents and statements posted by others throughout April 26th and 27th weren't pre-planned alongside Nano, Bao's, and Sacramore's, so I won't list them here. 4/27/2025. I posted my apology at 4:16 p.m. EST. Bao replied to my apology with her own post at 5:22 p.m. EST. Shy Lily replied directly to my apology at 6:41 p.m. EST. Bao streamed that night to talk about everything. 4/28/2025. Buffpup had her stream, Shy Lily had her stream, Numi had her stream. Everyone else streamed their thoughts throughout the rest of the week. Nano's new manager. Speculation. The first thing that needs to be addressed is Nano's new manager, whose messages were shown at the end of Nano's section. Who is Akira, and how did they get involved? It's very hard to believe they were ever actually Nano's manager, so how are they connected, and how did they get in contact with Red? Akira is the game director of Kernel Hearts and founder of the game studio Emifria Games in Argentina. Akira follows Nanolist, but nowhere on their page does it say anything about Nanolist. Nano does not follow Akira, and nowhere on her page or website does it say anything about Akira being her manager or business contact either. They've never interacted on Twitter either. Mio, Nano's husband, who's always acted as her manager, is present on Nano's profile. However, Momotex follows Akira, as the screenshot above shows. Momo is the lead artist of Akira's upcoming game Kernel Hearts and is also from Argentina. And it's a screenshot saying NPC reveal. Our lead artist, Momo, is here to unveil 2 of the characters that will aid you in your journey. Momo is also close friends with Nano, who she saw IRL on 5/2/2025, 5 days after I posted my apology on 4/27/2025, and a week after Nano posted her document. And Momo says, I'm with my wife. Nanolist, I love her. I don't know if Nano knew Akira already, but Momo is the only connection I could find between them. In the past, Nano talked to her friends about things Red had said to her. In November 2023, it was Nano's friends who told her that it was unfair to Nano to only work for us. This is something Nano was confused about and not something Red said to her. Nanolist says, so it's about working with Sinder. My friends told me it's a bit unfair for me to stop other models, so I do more for Sinder, which I agree with them. In January 2025, Nano went to her friends for advice about exclusivity when talking business with Red. Okay, so I asked help from my friends. They don't know it's you, don't worry. In a conversation from 11/28/2024 that wasn't shown in Nano's section, Nano was shown to be leaking private artwork she was working on for my upcoming debut to her friend. Nano says, my friend did this. And Redacted said, are you leaking all over the damn place? Oh my goodness, Nanoless. After speaking to Shy Lily about Red, can Nano have gone to her friend Momo, who connected her with Akira to play the role as her new manager to Red? Akira was someone Red and I didn't know, and now we know Red's conversation with him wasn't genuine, evident by what happened after, but after the fact, Nano removed evidence of her ever being in the chat to begin with. She then made Red the group leader before leaving. To leave a Discord group you own, you need to manually choose someone to be the leader. She did not choose her manager Akira in this chat, supposedly about her commissions. She chose Red to make it look like it was his group all along, and that she was never a part of it, because their actual goal was to separate us from Nano altogether. So why was this done, or why do I think this was only after Nano spoke to Shy Lily? Nano avoided ever communicating directly with Red, or I, again, after 4/12/2025, and I don't believe she would have gone through this effort with Akira on her own. Everything started when Shy Lily told Nano that the things Red said about her are all lies and manipulation. Wouldn't it be likely that at some point Shy Lily would suggest or direct Nano to separate herself from Red and I to avoid being further lied to and manipulated? Nano then needed to find someone neither Red or I knew to separate us, since she couldn't do it herself, the same way she couldn't contact Bao herself, and Shy Lily had to do it for her. Nano's message screenshots, time zone and context speculation. Before going over Nano's document, we discovered that some of Nano's screenshots are dated in 2 different time zones relative to EST. Some 1 hour ahead and some 2 hours ahead. For her screenshots to show this, Nano's account would have to have been physically logged into in 2 different time zones when talking to them sometime between 4/12/2025 and to 4/26/2025. Nano would have had no reason to have these screenshots from conversations years apart and years earlier already taken before Red spoke to her on 4/12/2025, and must have had at least some taken during the time as her conversation with Shy Lily just days later to show her. This is the first screenshot shown in Nano's document about the exclusivity deal. The first message is timestamped at 8:29 p.m. This is Nano's message in Red's DM shown at 6:29 p.m. in EST. Nano's screenshot is 2 hours ahead of EST. This is one of the screenshots about Shy Lily in Nano's document. The first message shows 10:16 p.m. Here's a message in Red's DM showing 9:16 p.m. EST. Nano's screenshot is only 1 hour ahead. If Nano was the one who took all of her own screenshots herself in the same 2-week span from 4/12 to 4/26, this discrepancy shouldn't exist. It shows Nano likely wasn't acting alone when taking screenshots of her own DMs that were shown in her document. Here is a list of the dates and topics of the screenshots that appear in Nano's document and the time difference to EST. I've also listed which conversations were shown in full and which are missing context in her document. 5/10/2023, 1 hour ahead. Spite. Does not show the full conversation or everything that was said about Spite. 7/19/2023, 1 hour ahead. Silvervale. Does not show the full conversation or anything from the previous conversation about Silvervale from 5/10/2023. 11/19/2023, 2 hours ahead. Exclusivity and it's just business. Does not show the full conversation and never showed the pivotal conversation that happened before this on 11/17/2023. 11/25/2023, 2 hours ahead. Exclusivity and it's just business. Does not show the full conversation and is also missing the context from 11/17/2023. 11/26/2023, 2 hours ahead. Exclusivity and it's just business. Nano's DMs with me. Does show the full conversation, but missing the context from anything from 11/17 and was presented before any of the DMs from 11/25 with Red and Nano's document. 8/5/2024, 1 hour ahead. Bow. Does not show the full conversation and doesn't show any of the vital context from the conversation on 7/26. It also doesn't show any of the following DMs on 8/6 or what the situation led up to on 9/29/2024. 1/15/2025, 2 hours ahead. The exclusivity deal. Does not show the full conversation and what's shown is manipulated to hide Nano's guilt and acceptance of the deal with Red. 2/11/2025, 2 hours ahead. Canceling the exclusivity deal. Nano's DMs with me. Does not show the full conversation and does not show Nano's messages to Red canceling the deal from 2/10/2025. 4/12/2025, 1 hour ahead. Shy Lily. Does show the full relevant parts of the conversation. Nano said nothing incriminating, and everything Red said was claimed as false when it wasn't. The full context of what happened in Red and Nano's DMs would have shown Nano's guilt and Red's innocence. Breaking down Nano's document. Nano's story in her document was the basis for any information from anyone else involved being made public, with her DMs being the source of many of the claims made. How else could anyone come out publicly and use Nano's messages with my manager as evidence unless she was a victim herself? Nano lied to my friends and lied to the public, saying that what was presented in her document was what truly happened. Let's go through Nano's document piece by piece. Nano's document for reference, and there's the link posted. And the screenshot of Nano is posting the Google Doc that she made. So, Nanolist goes on to say, introduction and notes, I want to share my experience with Sinder and Red manipulating me, using me, and dragging me into drama while sabotaging, slandering, and spreading lies about people I thought were her closest friends. Not only do I no longer wish to work with Sinder, but I want to share that I've endured over the years and shed light on what she has been doing behind people's backs to protect artists and friends that may be experiencing something similar. I struggled a lot with writing this document and wasn't sure if what I felt and experienced working was real or just burnout, but I think this proves that I was lied to and manipulated over the course of years while working with Sinder. This is Cinder's response. Nano wasn't manipulated to do anything she didn't want to at any point in any conversation with Red or I. Treating Nano well over the years we've worked with her is not manipulation. Red gossiping with his friend Nano about drama and his feelings towards other people without asking for anything in return is not manipulation. Red expressing his opinion without asking her to make any changes in her work is not manipulation. Both of us sympathizing with her point of view on different occasions is not manipulation. Red reassuring Nano about her wanting to cancel models no matter whose it was is not manipulation. Red telling Nano about what he had against Bao after she asked him to explain it to her is not manipulation. Red and Nano negotiating a mutually agreed upon deal is not manipulation. I'm quoting the using me clause. Nano was never used. She was a cherished work partner and friend to both me and Red. We both did everything we could for her, and I've praised her countless times on stream and to friends. Quoting and dragging me into drama. Nano never had a problem with Red gossiping to her about drama. She had no problem talking about the drama about Bao in January or about Shy Lily in April. The only person Nano got tired of hearing about and wanted nothing to do with the drama related to her was Silvervale because of her own relationship with her. And this is quoting, while sabotaging, slandering, and spreading lies about people I thought were her closest friends. The only person Red had a hand in sabotaging was Bao, when Nano offered to him that she'd cancel Bao's model in exchange for paying her own model rigging. He didn't go into the conversation with Nano looking to have anything canceled with Nano. He wanted to prevent Bao from working with her because of his own opinions as part of an exclusivity deal. He told Nano never mind when finding out about her model before Nano said it was okay and inquired further before she offered to cancel it. Red didn't lie about anyone he talked to Nano about, not Spite, Silver, Bao, or Shy Lily. Even if some things he said could have been wrong, everything he said to her was based on his own opinions, experiences, observations, and what he genuinely believed to be true. The way you talk to a friend. The same way my friends said how they thought Red and I worked together at home and about what they were led to believe happened. He did not maliciously lie about anyone to sabotage them. Quoting, I want to share what I've endured over the years. You've seen what Nano had to endure over the years in her section of this document. In relation to the, I wasn't sure if what I felt and experienced working was real or just burnout. This is the only time burnout is mentioned in Nano's document, even though that was the entire reason her manager, Akira, told Red she wanted to stop working together about a week earlier. If Nano genuinely felt this way, then she showed no sign of it to either of us, including in her last messages to us. The last time she implied feeling burnt out was 7 months earlier in September 2024 when she canceled 7 models herself. The one and only time Nano specifically said she was feeling burnout to Red was in May of 2024, almost an entire year earlier. Nano never expressed to me directly that she ever felt this way. In reference to, I think this proves that I was lied to and manipulated over the course of years while working with Sinder. This is an interesting thing to say after knowing the full context of Nano's DMs with Red, and as you'll see, how many lies are present in this document to manipulate the narrative to the public, and the fact my friends were lied to and manipulated to support her. Note, based on working with Redacted, Red, Cinder's manager, and this is taken from Nanolist's document, and Sinder over the years, that I am sure they speak for each other, and there's no reason to believe Red was acting without Cinder's consent and knowledge. Whenever I use they or them, it refers to both of them acting as a team. This was an assumption made to pin all the blame for Red words and actions on me, and there was no way Nano or anyone else could definitely say that in every single instance this was the case. It's not true. The only evidence shown to argue this case was of 3 total screenshots from my DMs with Nano that were from 2 conversations almost 2 years apart from each other, where I was told more or less what happened between her and Red beforehand. Nano's entire document purposely refers to both Red and I as one throughout it to push this assumption necessary to the narrative as fact. Part of Nanolist's document states, English is not my first language, and the language barrier. I discussed the situation, my feelings, and thoughts with native English speakers who helped me put them into words so everything is clear without any misunderstandings due to lack of English skills. Sinder goes to say, an excuse as to why this document is not written like Nano would, and evidence that she did not write or put it together herself. Below you'll see that what's presented first in Nano's document is what happened regarding Bao, not by talking about herself or the alleged abuse she experienced or what happened first chronologically. Nano is on record saying she doesn't care about Bao, so it's puzzling why she chose to do this herself. And after breaking down this section about Bao, I also need to point out the problem with the presentation of her model cancellation in Nano's document. Bao's model was canceled once in August of 2024 because Nano was overwhelmed with her workload, and again in January 2025 due to her offering and agreeing to do it in her deal with Red. Nano's document misleads you into believing all of Red's messages about Bao and her model are from one time, never specifying a difference in the presentation of messages that were over 5 months apart, but placing the DMs from January 2025 right before August 2024. It then deceitfully manipulates the messages to leave out vital context and misconstrue what actually happened in each case. Nano goes on to say, slandering other creators. I'll start with screenshots showing them speaking ill of other creators and spreading rumors while manipulating me that it's all in our best interest. In addition to spreading ill rumors, they also complain and accuse Bao of giving their editor too much work, resulting in the editor not having any time for new clients, which will be important later on. The screenshots below show them showing their affection and appreciation immediately followed by spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any further decisions regarding commissions. In regards to spreading rumors while manipulating me that it's all in our best interest. Nowhere in the screenshots presented does Red say to Nano that anything would be all in our best interest. Red has never said anything like this to Nano. In regards to, they also complain and accuse Bao of giving their editor too much work, resulting in the editor not having any time for new clients, which will be important later on. Sinder goes on to say, Red did not make this claim against Bao and said nothing about our video editor not having time for new clients. Our editor wasn't seeking to take on more clients and was content editing for me and Bao only. This is what he said, which is what the screenshots below show in her document. And it says here, and I don't mean taken like he doesn't work with us anymore. He does, but he has to dedicate time for her now, and sometimes that gets in the way of our projects. And this couldn't have been confused with Bao's editor. Not only because she specified she was talking about our editor in what was written, but because Red's DMs specify our editor and her editor had different people in the same conversation that's shown next. It says, she hijacked our YouTube editor a while ago, and her editor met us at TwitchCon. This claim was only made to push the false narrative that we were maliciously overworking Nano, which is brought up later in her document. In regards to the screenshots below, show them showing their affection and appreciation immediately followed by spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any further decisions regarding commissions. Here's a direct claim of manipulation by Nano with screenshot evidence presented. However, when you have the full context, you can see the affection and appreciation Red showed was in response to Nano's own messages that were purposely cut from the document. Why weren't these messages shown? Next are 3 screenshots from January 2025 presented in her document. As you saw in Nano's section, this was not the beginning of Red's conversation with Nano about their exclusivity deal, but this is where it was chosen to start. The messages have been purposely manipulated to remove context, so I've added back what was missing in their messages between these images highlighted with a white border. I've done so for the rest of the document too. I've also dated each non-sequential screenshot Nano presented in EST like they're dated in Red screenshots to show when each one happened. The chronology of events was disregarded in her document to push its narrative. I've also labeled the difference in time in the screenshots compared to EST due to the time zone discrepancy I talked about. Note. The first image shown in Nano's document was Red's message about Cotton edited out of it. Nano, having no relationship with Cotton, would have no reason to do this herself. And this message was included in the screenshot in Bao's document. Nano said, I don't really care about Bao and Cotton. Screenshots from 1/15/2025 at 6:25 p.m. to 6:54 p.m. EST, shown as 2 hours ahead of EST. These were screenshots that were taken or not included in Nano's document. and the ones in orange were in the document. What is presented next is a screenshot from over 5 months prior in August of 2024 when Bao's model was canceled the first time. Screenshot of this message is from 8/5/2024 at 3:13 p.m. EST, shown as 1 hour ahead of EST. In regards to Red asked me to cancel on one of their closest friends, Bao, by asking me to cancel my work mid-progress. Nano's document never shows where Red asked Nano to cancel Bao's model because it didn't happen. Bao's model was canceled, but he did not ask her to do it. Not in August of 2024 or in January 2025. In the instance last year shown above in Nano's document, she was the one to bring up and consider canceling Bao's model. All Red did was reassure her in 2024 that it was okay to do so, since that is what she implied she wanted, and ended up going through with it herself. Plus, about a week before it was canceled, Nano told Red that Bao's model hadn't even been started. How could it have been canceled mid-progress? Even though Nano's document only presents Bao's model being canceled once, and the evidence shown above was from August 2024, let's assume that Bao's model was canceled mid-progress in January 2025. Well, in January, Nano told Red Bao's model was on her list, as in on her commissions list, and not mid-progress. I do not believe Nano would cancel a project if she had any significant amount of work invested into it already. Red did not ask her to cancel Bao's model in January either. Nano offered and agreed to do it in their deal, but that wasn't shown or mentioned in Nano's document at all. The document could only show Bao's model being canceled in August because it couldn't show anything about it in January without implicating Nano herself. The narrative that Nano was a victim would fall apart because she gladly and willingly offered and agreed to a deal where she benefited at Bao's expense. In addition, it was easy for her to offer to cancel the model again because of the fact it was not mid-progress. It was upsetting to me that Red contacted me specifically to check on me, canceling the model I had planned with Bao. This is Sinder's response to that statement. Her document also doesn't show where Red supposedly contacted Nano specifically to check on her canceling the model she had planned with Bao, because it doesn't exist. He messaged her to see if she decided to cancel any other project she expressed interest in canceling that they previously discussed, to which she replied, "Not yet." And I can imagine how upsetting this all must have been for her, considering she was the one who brought up canceling Bao's model in the first place in August, even telling her that she didn't think she could finish her model, and in January was the one who offered to cancel Bao's model in exchange for paying for her own model's rigging. This was taken from Nanolist's document. Exclusivity and blacklisting other creators. In the messages below, they mentioned wanting an exclusivity contract, but they didn't want to pay for exclusivity. But rather, when a creator from their blacklist comes asking for a commission, they would guarantee me model work for Sinder only, and if anyone asked me for commissions, they commission me instead to compensate for not working with other creators. It's all very strange given that one of the accusations they made was overworking their editor, yet their solution to me working with other creators was for them to essentially overwork me to keep me from working on other projects. In response to, they mentioned wanting an exclusivity contract, but they didn't want to pay for exclusivity. Neither Red or I had a problem with paying Nano for model exclusivity, which was shown with our video editor, Artist 1 and Artist 2, will be shown in Silvervale section. And this is to our video editor. Redacted says, "So we lost Blank and now we need shorts, and even with Blank helping out, there's a problem with consistency. So anyways, we'd like to offer you Blank a month to be our exclusive editor. Pick up those extra shorts, maybe do more clips, and the occasional midweek videos, which you've already been doing." And then to Artist number 1. "Okay, thoughts on the thing. We aren't against the idea of paying you month to month to have you as a permanent team member. Sinder and I both agree that some kind of exclusivity non-compete agreement would be important to do too." And then to Artist number 2. Redacted says, Wanted to ask if you'd be open to us paying you extra for more of your time for more projects and narrowing down your client list. Nano said she'd want a monthly fee, and Red explained to her what we're looking for, which led to him talking about the 3 people he didn't want her to work with. Afterwards, Nano offered to cancel Bao's model in exchange for paying for her model rigging, and that an exclusivity deal about new babies would be separate from the deal they eventually came to. They made a mutual agreement without general model exclusivity and payment being involved. Why wasn't this shown in Nano's document? In response to, but rather when a creator from their blacklist comes asking for a commission, they would guarantee me model work from Sinder only, and if anyone asked me for commissions, they'd commission me instead to compensate for not working with other creators. This felt very strange. Sinder says, Red told Nano that if Silvervale asked her for art, we replaced that work with our own art project. He did not specify model work or say anything about Sinder only. It must not have felt very strange to Nano at the time because she said herself, it do be fair, then accepted the deal, willingly doing this to Silvervale for her own gain. This was only in regards to Silver, like Red says directly above, and never once did he suggest this applied to anyone else who'd ask her for a commission like Nano's document just claimed. In response to, one of the accusations they made was overworking their editor. As you saw, this was never an accusation Red made about Bao, and this was the closest thing he said. Earlier in the document, it said this baseless claim about overworking our editor would be important later on, so it could support another baseless claim presented here. And it says, I don't mean taken like he doesn't want to work with us anymore. He does, but he has to dedicate time for her now, and sometimes it gets in the way of our projects. In response to, yet their solution to me working with other creators was for them to essentially overwork me to keep me from working on other projects. Sinder says, this is everything we commissioned Nano for in the past year. Nano willingly and excitedly accepted and made time for everything listed here, and besides the increase in gamer subs work, our project cadence with her has always been consistent. We've always had Nano make my models and outfits with new starting screen for each of my debuts. We went to her for any major artwork from Gamer Subs projects because of how important she was to my brand image and how important they were to her, with the exception of my VC card artworks specifically because they would have overloaded her schedule. She could have always turned us down if she wanted to, and if she couldn't take our work at the time, we would have either found another artist or pushed our plans back for her like we always have. March 2024, Gamer Subs Waifu Cup Art. April 2024, 2.0 Model Pyro Pup Edition. May 2024, Unreleased Gamer Subs Art. June 2024, Bikini Model Outfit. August 2024, Heaven Hound Model. October 2024, Unreleased Gamer Subs Art. November 2024, Heaven Hound Starting Screen Art. December 2024, Unreleased Gamer Subs Art. January 2025, Gamer Subs AFK Libel Art. February 2025, Sleepy Model. March 2025, Sleepy Starting Screen Art. The argument that we were overworking her to purposely keep her from other projects is objectively false. The only project she was kept from was when she offered to cancel Bao's model and made a deal with Red in January. And any potential Silvervale project she would have been kept from, she never was, because she went back on her agreement a week after her model's rigging was paid for, and as soon as Silver asked for her artwork. Silver didn't lose out on working with Nano. The last time she implied feeling overworked was 7 months earlier in September 2024 when she canceled 7 models herself and had no problem doing so when she wanted to lighten her workload. She could have done the same to us but never did. She just wanted to do Sinder stuff. Nano's document goes from, quote, they didn't want to pay for exclusivity, unquote, which is untrue. Nano said new model exclusivity would be a different deal than what her and Red eventually agreed on, and payment wasn't included in the deal they made. And it came from that, too. But rather, when a creator from their blacklist comes to ask a commission, they would guarantee me model work for Sinder only. By terms of the agreement she agreed to, if she turned down a commission for Silvervale, we'd replace any income with a project of our own that she'd otherwise lose by doing so. And went from that to, yet their solution to me working with other creators was for them to essentially overwork me to keep from working on other projects. The response is, the solution was the deal Red and Nano agreed to, but wasn't shown in her document. How could we have been overworking Nano by replacing Silvervale's project she would have otherwise accepted anyway? Does that mean when Silver asked her for artwork and Nano walked back on the deal, Silver was then overworking her? Or only if she turned Silver down and we gave her a replacement project, then that would be us overworking her. This conclusion doesn't make sense and is a blatant lie about what happened, strung together to make it sound like we were abusing Nano when we weren't. Then Nano goes on to say in her doc that the messages below show that their primary concern is that the more non-Sinder models I make, the less valuable my existing models become. It's hard to say how much this messed with my mind as an artist, that by working with other people, I'm somehow making my existing models less special. Following screenshots is them setting up the blacklist, saying I'm not allowed to work with any new clients or create any new outfits for VTuber 1 specifically, and justifying those things by saying that with each model, my art becomes less unique and special, and therefore Sinder somehow will become less special. The idea that my work as an artist and designer is devalued by working with other people is insane and hurtful. After realizing what taking a deal with them would really mean for both my workload and my mental health, I backed out. In regards to the primary concern is that the more non-Sinder models I make, the less valuable my existing models become. By working with other people and somehow making my existing models less special. I'm just going to quote a part of what Red said in Nano's section about this. His full reasoning can be found here. And then this is Red's message about supply and demand that was mentioned earlier. Following screenshot is of them setting up the blacklist, saying I'm not allowed to work with any new clients or create any new outfits for Silvervale specifically, and justifying those things by saying that with each model my art becomes less unique and special, and therefore Sinder somehow will become less special. The following screenshot is of Red stating the terms to start negotiating an exclusivity deal, specifying that her existing model clients and her artwork commissions would be unaffected. How Red justified the terms he started with doesn't matter. Nano didn't have to agree with them. They never spoke about his thought process here and still reached an agreement at the end of their conversation. In regards to the idea that my work as an artist and designer is devalued by working with other people is insane and hurtful. Red's model ideology should never have been shared with Nano unless he actually explained to her what he was talking about. He never forced Nano to agree with him, and both of us could see and understand both sides of the argument, which is why it wasn't brought up since 2023 until he went to Nano about exclusivity. Nano didn't push back or question it when Red said it, and was still willing to negotiate an exclusivity deal that would have prevented her from working with other people. In regards to after realizing what taking a deal with them would really mean for both my workload and my mental health, I backed out. The way this is written, it makes it seem like Nano never agreed to a deal with Red, when she actually did, but it's purposely never shown in her document. Nano said the deal was fair and gladly accepted it, but it's specifically cut off in the screenshots from her document. Red asked her to confirm the details of their agreement, and she did. She only backed out a month later after she had already gotten what she wanted, and because Silver approached her for a commission, and she couldn't turn her down. Her messages canceling the deal to Red were, again, never shown. Her workload wasn't and wouldn't have been affected at all, other than her having less work after canceling Val's model, which was presented as only happening once in her document. And then this is a screenshot from Nano's document, shown as 2 hours ahead of EST, posted on 4:48 p.m. to 6:12 p.m. EST. Then the screenshot jumps to the end of their conversation an hour later, but cut off right before Nano calls the deal fair and accepts it to make the agreement she never agreed to, a deal with Red. And this was at 1:15, 2025, 7 p.m. to 7:05 p.m. EST, shown 2 hours ahead of EST. And And then this screenshot was what was taken out of Nano's document. Nano goes on to say that another example of speaking ill of other creators right after they saw I was working with Shy Lily, trying to once again make the idea of working with other clients seem like I was setting myself up with problematic people who will do me no good in the long run to get me to reconsider working with them. They also continuously kept asking about my other clients' plans, which for them made the antenna go up, and immediately went into slandering Lily. They consistently tried to reassure me that despite their best efforts, they happen to keep trying to bring drama in as reasons for me to go exclusive, and that working only with Sinder is them trying to look out for me. In regards to this, that's not at all what happened or was implied by Nano by Red in their conversation. At no point did he say anything about reconsidering work with Shy Lily or to cancel her plans. Red told Nano what I've been experiencing with Shy Lily because he thought that her working with Nano on a model could be correlated, and he's always gossiped with her as his friends. In regards to, they also continuously kept talking about my other clients' plans, which have been done for well over 2 years between Red and Nano, with her willingly sharing them, even about Shy Lily, which is what this is in reference to. For Nano to suddenly imply this was a problem to her is contradictory to years of her own behavior. In regards to, and immediately went into slandering Lily. Red did not slander Shy Lily. The things Red told Nano were true to what I was actually experiencing with her. In regards to keep trying to bring drama in as reasons for me to go exclusive, and that working only with Sinder is them trying to look out for me. Sinder says, the deal Red and Nano had was made 3 months earlier and ended 2 months before this conversation. It only involved 3 people. Nano and Red never talked about exclusivity beyond what happened there. And Nano never said it was off the table. Red wouldn't have had to convince her to go exclusive, somehow using drama to do that. It was a matter of making another deal, like Nano said. She was the first one to bring up the possibility of exclusivity. In their conversation about Shy Lily, there was nothing about exclusivity, working only with me, that this drama was any kind of reason for her to do so, or Red ever saying he was looking out for her. This claim misleads you again to believe that Nano never agreed to a deal with Red to begin with when she actually did. These screenshots were from April of 2025. And these were shown 1 hour ahead of EST. And this is what was taken out of Nanolith's document. In regards to the idea they need to stay informed and gauge the competition is extremely upsetting and toxic to me. Sinder says, sharing her plans has never bothered Nano in the years of working with Red, and for her to flip her opinion of this out of nowhere is unbelievable. Besides willingly sharing that what she was doing with Shy Lily 2 weeks before I was canceled, she even shared her project plans at Silvervale after canceling her deal with Red because of it. And Red never used the phrase gauge the competition like is quoted in Nano's document. These are the closest things he said. In its regards to feels like we're going to have to compete with Lily, she's ghosting Sinder and wants to say model mama. Gotta stay competitive even when we shouldn't have to. In regards to the competition they're referring to are people I thought they considered friends who always help support and platform Sinder. The competition referred to in the messages shown was one person, not plural. Red said he thought we'd have to start considering Shy Lily's competition with how she was treating me at the time of the conversation. I did not start to view her this way and only wanted to fix what was going on, evident in my message to her on 4/21/2025. In regards to when I pushed back, the immediate response was blaming the other creators and implying that they initiated it by trying to work with me. No, Shy Lily working with Nano was not the catalyst for Red thinking this way, but it was the reason he talked to Nano about her. Again, this conversation is about Shy Lily, not plural creators. Red said to Nano that it felt like we'd have to compete with Shy Lily and start considering her as competition because of her unwarranted actions and change in attitude towards us. She was not treating me like a friend, and working with Nano on a new model was just another thing on top of what I was already experiencing that Red thought was related. In regards to, and that somehow justified their actions. What actions? What action did Red take against Shy Lily in his messages to Nano besides asking Nano questions and daring to tell her what Shy Lily was doing towards me? In regards to, they implied Lily ignored Sinder when she spent over a minute thinking the raid, which you can see in this clip. Red said Shy Lily wouldn't acknowledge me by name, not ignore my raid. Red clearly says in his messages to Nano that I raided Shy Lily a couple of times, but Nano's document only addressed one of them. Nano included an exact time-stamped link to one of the 2 times I raided Shy Lily that Red told her about in Shy Lily's defense. Here's a link to that raid from 3/30/2025. Shy Lily greeted the raiders and didn't say hi to me or thank me for the raid. I didn't see it when it happened, but if you were to watch it for another 5 minutes after she basically moved on with her stream, you'd see that she then did quickly thank me for the raid. If she was able to greet my raiders when the first happened, then why couldn't she have also said hi and thanked me then? I wasn't upset about this since it was just one raid. However, what wasn't linked in Nano's document was the second, more recent raid Red told Nano about from 4/11, a day before he spoke to her about Shy Lily was acting. Shy Lily didn't say hi or thank me for the raid like you expect your friend to do or any streamer to do. She said hi to my raiders but didn't thank them either. She goes on to read one of my chat messages, but this was the second time Shy Lily had an off-putting reaction to me sending my community to her in the past couple of weeks, coupled with removing herself from collabs I was part of and ghosting my messages. The same day as the raid, Red saw Nano working on new model for Shy Lily for the first time. He thought it could be connected to how she was acting towards me. In the past, Silvervale, who Red and I knew had a problem with me, purposely refused to say my name when I raided her, continually ghosted my messages, and got a model from Nano at a suspicious time, among other things, which will all be shown in her section. These specific experiences with someone else who we knew didn't like me further led both Red and I to believe that Shy Lily had something wrong with me for some reason. I will talk about my race to Shy Lily again when I go over the things she said herself. Nanalis in her document says, below I wanted to push back and make clear I was uncomfortable and being dragged into drama, and they responded by bringing up more drama and baseless claims, all while trying to guilt trip me. It is ironic and crazy to me that I mentioned not wanting to be dragged into personal issues only for them to, on multiple occasions, mention other people's alleged drama. The drama Nana's talking about in the next screenshot is specifically in regards to Silvervale after she canceled the exclusivity deal. The only time Nano had ever said she didn't want to be involved in drama was around Silvervale. She never had a problem with Red gossiping to her about drama and had no problem talking about the drama about Bal in January or about Shy Lily in April. The baseless claims being referred to here was me telling Nano people were still comparing us to this day, which was true and had affected me for years. I agree that I was guilt-tripping Nano with this message. I was upset that she went back on this deal because it was the last resort that could have ended one of the biggest direct comparisons people drew about me and Silver when she eventually got a new model from someone else. The outcome of this conversation and Nano's decision didn't change because of it, and we reached a mutual understanding. These screenshots below were 2 months before the conversation Red had with her about Shy Lily in February 2025 when she told me about her canceling her agreement with Red. This was shown at 2/11/2025 at 5:18 p.m. to 9:13 p.m. EST, shown as 2 hours ahead of EST. And this was a screenshot that was taken out of context. Or rather, this was a screenshot that was taken, that was not included in Nanolist's document. Her messages canceling a deal with Red the day before she messaged me about it were never shown in her document. In regards to Nano saying, justifying their behavior by stating that they are simply looking out for me. Once again, where is the message where either of us state that we are simply looking out for Nano? I justify my behavior with how I felt towards Silvervale because of the actions of her and her community towards me. When Nano came to me about how she felt and didn't want to be involved in drama around Silver, I was okay with it and didn't hold it against her. She didn't need to agree to the terms of the exclusivity deal. She didn't agree with Silvervale being included, but she did. In regards to, and manipulating me into being grateful for earning well thanks to them despite the loss of work from longtime returning clients and new clients. Nano was not manipulated to say what she said to me. There was no loss of work from Nano with Silvervale or any clients due to mine or Red's actions. The reason why she ultimately went back on the deal she agreed to was because Silver approached her about a commission and Nano couldn't turn it down. In regards to Nano saying, another example of going after other clients of mine from before, claiming that having more clients alongside them makes my work less special with the reoccurrence of it's just business. Neither of us have gone after other clients of hers unless you count Red and Nano's negotiations about exclusivity. Here is what Red said about Nano's work being less special from November 2023, which was referred to in the screenshots of my DM shown in Nano's document below. This is what he said, and there was no conversation further about it. It was the one and only time he brought up the value of Nano's model other than mentioning it once when negotiating their exclusivity deal in January 2025. As explained before, the dishonest framing of it's just business by Nano's document was intentional. The conversation with the use of it's just business was from November 2023. Nano clearly understood what we meant by it back then for it never to have come up again until her document was written. In regards to manipulating me into believing that working with her is special for multiple reasons and that I risk losing that special something as a client if I prefer to work with others. Sinder says, I agree that me saying, but you prefer to work with other clients instead of me was guilt tripping her. I forget how I phrased this, but I already accepted her decision by my use of it's just business, like Red had said to her the day before. Neither me or Red tried to change Nano's opinion on her decision, and she was not manipulated to change her position on what she wanted. We both agreed with her and accepted it. I thought that I wouldn't be a nano model only VTuber anymore because of her not having a lot of time for my projects to keep up with my model cadence. I thought I'd have to find another model artist, which is why I reminisced about my first model with her. I told her it felt special to only have her model work for my outfits and to let me know if she wouldn't have time for me to only use her artwork for my models, not to be the one single VTuber with her model art. In regards to no acknowledgement of my reasoning and need of working with other clients due to the nature of my work, solely focused on their issues. Here's what was said to Nano on both mine and Red's DMs with her during the situation. All of these messages are from the same conversation and appear in the screenshots from Nano's document below. However, they're separated among 3 topics the document covers. Red and I understood Nano's position and agreed with her. We didn't force her into anything or force her into thinking a certain way to her own detriment. And as Nanolis says, I'm a free artist, I should do whatever I want to do. And Redacted says, I agree, you're a free artist and you should do what you want. Redacted says to Nano, it's okay, Nano, you're just making a living and making a name for yourself, and I can't blame you for accepting work from bigger names in the industry and having very desirable talent. And Analyst says, thank you for understanding my side. Redacted says, Nano, you're a freelance artist and Silver's a longtime client, so it makes sense to continue doing work for her. I understand the logistics of it. At the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you. And Nanola says, I really appreciate for understanding my side. In another screenshot, Nanola says, it's important for my job to reach far, and I like working with different projects and people. And Sinder responds to Nanola saying, I also think it's important for you to work on projects that you're excited about. Nanola goes on to say in her document, I would also like to note again that this screenshot is one of many occasions that indicate that Red speaks on Sinder's behalf. I was originally concerned with everything going through Red, that it may not have been 100% of Sinder's feelings or wants. I messaged her about it to make sure that he spoke on her behalf and confirmed with both of them that this was the case. Sinder says, yes, Red spoke for me all the time to lots of different people because that's been his job as my manager and I trusted him. But Red also spoke for himself and for the brand. No, we didn't always agree on our feelings or wants. There's been many times he's had to walk things back because I disagreed, or we've had to compromise on decisions. To assume that in every single instance for forever that we were 100% in agreement on things is crazy. There were a total of 2 times Nano had ever messaged me about her conversations with Red. This situation from 2023 and when she canceled the exclusivity deal in 2025. Like I pointed out when talking about It's Just Business in Nano's section, Nano's document presents my conversation with Nano from the situation before any of the context of Red's conversation with her that happened a day earlier, deceptively masking the context of my use of the phrase. Unless you were paying attention to the dates of the messages in Nano's document, you never know the timeline of events. Posted on 11/26/2023 at 1:03 p.m. to 5:22 p.m. EST, shown as 2 hours ahead of EST. In Analyst's document, she says Red tries to make it look like they never meant for it to appear like they wanted me to be exclusive by framing it as something I wanted, while immediately doubling down on the fact that me working with more people makes my work less special and no longer unique, as if every design is just a Sinder clone. In the full context of this conversation from the screenshots below, Red never said anything about Nano being exclusive to us or ever told her to only work on Sinder related things. He never said every design was a Sinder clone because his reasoning wasn't about other models being Sinder clones. The messages in this screenshot happened in November 2023, over a year before the exclusivity deal, but Nano's document doesn't point that out. Here's everything Red said that Nano took as him asking her not to work with anyone but me. He was confused in his message because he never asked her to do this, or was somehow making her do this. Red's full thought process behind Nano's work being less special and no longer unique was explained in her section, but he didn't explain his point of view to her. This was not a black and white issue, and Red and I could understand both sides of it, ultimately sympathizing and agreeing with Nano's perspective. These are screenshots from 11:25 at 8:46 a.m. to 8:59 a.m. EST, shown as 2 hours ahead of EST. In regards to It's Simply Business, Nanolis says normalizing their behavior once again by stating that this is simply business to sabotage other VTubers' careers and not work with them and focus on Sinder instead. Sinder goes on to say, both mine and Red's use of the It's Just Business or similar phrases were dishonestly misinterpreted and twisted to fit the idea that it was to somehow justify sabotaging others. Like I explained before, the phrase was used to accept Nano's decision in 2023 regardless of our feelings on that decision. If you were to actually read the screenshots that were presented in Nano's document right below this, you'd understand that in no way is Red using the phrase business is business to try and sabotage anyone. If you look at my messages without the context of Red's conversation with Nano happening the day before, then it looks like I'm saying it's just business about Nano canceling models. That is not what I meant. I spoke to Red about his conversation with Nano before hearing from her, and my use of it's just business was in reference to what he said. Presented out of order, out of context, and if you're someone other than Nano who had an experience talking to Red and I back to back in the situation, you'd see my message to Nano and get the wrong idea. Nano's document purposely showed my message first without any context before it to manipulate the narrative. In regards to Nano saying, making sure none of this reaches the other VTubers and all is kept hush-hush, while also providing proof that they know what they do is ill-intended and should not get out, as it would cause issues for Sinder's career to be painted in this light. The example shown in the next screenshot is after Nano canceled Silverveil's model. Red did not ask her to, make her do it, or target Silver in any way. Obviously, he wouldn't want Nano to tell Silver it was my fault because it wasn't, or the fact they were talking about her at all. The only other time Red asked Nano to keep things between them about another VTuber was when they made their exclusivity deal. Not only to keep what he said between them from other VTubers, but to keep what he said and did against Bao from me too. In regards to, note that the uncalled shot at Silvervale is even spoilered a hidden message in Discord, so it wouldn't accidentally be leaked. Sinder says, pointing out and claiming a message was hidden so it wouldn't accidentally be leaked, as the reason doesn't make sense. Red fully trusted Nano to keep things private between them, not just this one censored message. Who else would that one message in Nano's DMs that was immediately buried, but be accidentally leaked to if it wasn't spoilered? Nano leaked that exact message here, and hiding did nothing to stop it from getting leaked after all. So screenshot from 11:25 at 9:30 a.m. to 9:34 a.m. shown 2 hours ahead of EST. Screenshot from 11/19/2023 at 2:50 p.m. EST shown as 2 hours ahead of EST. In regards to the constant obsession with Silvervale, Sinder goes to say, there were a total of 3 major instances where Silver came up in Red's messages with Nano, 2 of which were in 2023 and the other in January 2025, and in the aftermath of those cases were the only times Nano and I talked about her. My experience with Silvervale is explained in her section of this document. In regards to claiming that she is asking for it by causing this unspoken competition, which is coming from absolutely no other source than Sinder herself. Sinder says, no other source other than Red. These are Red's words. He did not say she was asking for it, and sympathize with Silver's perspective. The exact screenshot is what's shown next in Nano's document. I did view Silver as competition, but not until 2024, which will be shown in her section. And screenshot from 7/19/2023, 11:46 a.m. EST, shown an hour ahead of EST. And then screenshots from 7/19/2023, 11:51 a.m. EST, shown 1 hour ahead of EST. And the last image Nano presents below is from May 2023, where Red is talking about spite, not Silvervale, but it's never pointed out that this is about someone else from a different time. This is all that was shown about spite, and Nano's document didn't include anything about Red asking and Nano agreeing she wouldn't work with spite for some reason, even though it helped Nano's case. In regards to, I'd like to highlight the irony of expecting to be entitled to recognition for her own efforts and size when her own active efforts are tied to sabotaging this very same VTuber. Sinder says, me trying to gain Silver's recognition came far before there was any kind of effort to ever try doing anything against her. They were not simultaneous, and a huge majority of the context around my relationship with Silvervale over the years was never explained to the public, including by myself in my apology. In regards to also feeling entitled and insisting to be recognized by someone else is odd. I didn't feel entitled to be recognized by her. I felt pressure to. On one hand, I was being harassed for being similar to her, and on the other, I was constantly asked to do things with her. If, at the bare minimum, we could get along on Twitter, it would have stopped the hate and satisfied the fans wanting us to interact. Similar to how another couple popular VTubers that had beef in the past publicly ended the feud between them. But Silver couldn't allow herself to do even that. In regards to, I hope everything makes sense and everyone who has been hurt, manipulated, or sabotaged by her will find closure. Sinder responds, I hope the events presented here make even more sense than they did before. Nano's message screenshots, manipulation, speculation. Another thing I'd like to point out is the fact that Nano screenshots present in both her and Bao's documents were manipulated after Nano had already given them to Shy Lily and Bao, meaning that someone helped Nano cover up information and proving Nano did not originally present the screenshots to them this way. Here's one of the screenshots in Nano's document. The bottom is cut off. And here's the same screenshot from Bao's document. The image is in higher quality, the censorship is done differently, and the bottom where Nano says the deal was fair is present. Nano was the only one who could have had these screenshots from her DMs with Red to give to Bao to use. Even the timestamps of the DMs are the same. If Bao's document had the full screenshot, then that means Nano showed them the full screenshot. But at some point after showing Shy Lily, Bao, and my friends, it was decided to edit the screenshot in Nano's document to crop out her calling the ideal fair, removing her guilt. Another example is of the image of Red's message about Cotton. In Nano's document, the message about Cotton is deliberately doctored out of the image, as if it never existed. Nano, who had no relationship with Cotton and is on record saying she didn't care about her, would have had no reason to do this. But Bao's document shows the message and just censors Cotton's name. It also contains the message at the bottom, unlike the screenshot Nano used. I'm unsure why Bao's own name is censored in the screenshot from her own document. So if my friends knew what the full screenshot showed here, but they were manipulated into Nano's document before showing them to the public, then who did it? At the very least, I know that Nano's specific message calling their deal with Red fair was seen by Shy Lily, Bao, and my friends. My friends who were involved are not stupid. They wouldn't have done this to me if Nano didn't show them everything that happened first, right? I originally thought that, as my friends, they would have wanted to be fully informed on everything that happened before making their decision to cancel me. Unless the first person Nano contacted, the one who told Nano she was being manipulated to begin with, the one who contacted Bao for her, was backing all of her claims to them. I believe with Shy Lily already on her side, Nano lied to her about her experiences from us from the start to hide her own guilt and push it all onto us. How could she show Shy Lily what she did and said about one of her best friends, Bao? If Shy Lily was only shown the snippets of the DMs that Nano chose to show her, she wouldn't have cared what the full context was. Shy Lily saw what Red said about her, and that was enough for her to agree with whatever story Nano told her with whatever little evidence was given for it. The rest of my friends could have just been told by Shy Lily and Nano what happened and also weren't shown anything beyond Nano's cherry-picked screenshots, completely trusting in their story and jumping to conclusions because of their past experiences. Especially in Bao's case, who was right out of surgery, whose most trusted friends were telling her what happened, and posted her document 2 days later. Supporting the idea that they may not have seen everything is that no one tried to contact me about any of this. It may have been manipulated not to under the guise that I'd be the one to manipulate them. If they did, they would have heard a contradicting story. What was Nano's motive to leak messages to Shy Lily and to eventually post this document? Speculation. Everything that was posted on top of Nano's claims, but if her story isn't true, she wasn't manipulated, and Red didn't lie to her, then what was her motivation? Point 1. Nano's manager Akira told Red that Nano wouldn't be working with us anymore due to artistic burnout and for no other reason. Burnout is mentioned once in Nano's document, and she showed no signs of burnout in our conversations with her for several months. Since I was canceled, she continued to work on more than plenty of projects. It doesn't make sense as a motive. As can be seen from our DMs, Nano was always treated well by us and was always excited to work on my projects, even right up until her last messages with us. Not wanting to work together wouldn't be her motive. Since working with Nano, my work alone has made her over 100K, with about 60K of that being within the last year from when I was canceled. Given that I was her most frequent client, she wouldn't have had a monetary reason to do this. Nano's reasoning behind many of her claims written in our document are contradictory to how she behaved for years and how she responded to situations when they happened. Those couldn't have been her motive. Nano only leaked her DMs with Red after he talked to her about Shy Lily. Why was that her turning point? If Nano had concerns about what Red was saying about Shy Lily, then why didn't she ask him for evidence? Why didn't she come talk to me about it? Because she suspected Red, who's been on her side for years, of lying before she'd ever suspect the Shy Lily of any wrongdoing. I believe Nano was curious about the things Red said about Shy Lily and asked her about them. Shy Lily lied to Nano about her own actions and told her she was being manipulated by Red. If we're to believe that Nano was so easily manipulated by my manager in their casual conversation, then how likely is it that Nano could have been manipulated, used, or pressured by the biggest pissed off indie VTuber Shy Lily directly throughout this whole ordeal? Nano betrayed Red's trust in her after believing everything Shy Lily said, and either willingly leaked more DMs to Shy Lily for her opinion, or Shy Lily asked Nano if there was more to see. There was no backing out now. She had to go along with the events that came next and carefully maneuvered her way to the best possible outcomes for herself. Nothing from Nano's DMs could be made public without her cooperation, and her cooperation wouldn't make sense if she wasn't also a victim. Shy Lily, in lying to Nano, inadvertently gave her the excuse and support she needed to blame all of her actions on Red and I without ever having to show for it. Nano leaking messages, hiding the truth, and going along with the plan to post her document was about self-serving self-preservation in the eyes of Shy Lily, my friends, and the public, at the expense of people who supported her for years. Who wrote Nano's document? Speculation. I do not believe Nano wrote her own document, and whoever did manipulated the information Nano had and maliciously wrote about me. Nano then presented it to the public, and the real author kept their hands clean from any direct involvement. Nano's document states itself that she did not write it or put it together. This is further evidenced by the fact Nano's DMs are typed completely differently to how her document was written. Her document starts with Bao's involvement, not about herself, and not about what chronologically happened first. Nano is on record saying she didn't care about Bao. The message from Red and Cotton hurting one of our friends was cut out of the screenshot in Nano's document. Nano would have no reason to do this, and she's on record saying she didn't care about Cotton. Nano had no prior relationship with our friend who was hurt either. The way Nano's document claims she felt about Red asking her about plans and gossiping with her contradicts years of her own behavior. Issues with situations over the past couple years claimed in her document weren't a problem to her when they had happened. Nano would have known exactly how the events presented played out and the full context behind them. She lied about them, and someone who was just using Nano's messages helped her do it. They didn't care about the validity of the claims being made, only that they supported the greater narrative, purposely leaving out critical context and distorting the order of events. Only one screenshot of messages about Spite was included. Nano's document never mentioned Red asking her not to work with Spite, even though that seemingly would have helped her argument. The person who wrote it didn't know about it ever happening. However, I believe this wasn't included on purpose. Nano's document repeatedly uses the and symbol throughout it, not just in section titles, but in the written text too, 25 times. Not once in the years of working together has she ever used this symbol in either of our messages with her, and in my experience anywhere else, it's not commonly used. A dozen people, including Nano, Shy Lily, and Bao, were involved in the planning of these documents. Bao's document doesn't contain any use of ands, and I believe Bao wrote her document herself. However, Shy Lily's reply to my apology tweet used and a total of 15 times in its writing. Did Shy Lily write Nano's document? Shy Lily was already giving me multiple signs that she had a problem with me before any of this happened, even saying on stream she always had a bad feeling about me. Shy Lily was involved from the very start, being the first person Nano told about Red's messages. Shy Lily was more than willing to lie about me herself, as you will see below. Shy Lily was the one who reached out to Bao for Nano, and most likely was the one to do the same with Cotton, Silverveil, and Spite. Nano's document starts with what happened with Bao, which would make sense if Shy Lily wrote it instead of Nano. The message about Cotton hurting a friend of ours is edited out of the screenshot of Red's DMs. Shy Lily is also close friends with that person and may have done this to keep them out of things. A link to the exact timestamp of one of my 2 raids into Shy Lily's stream that Red told Nano about just so happened to be included in her document in Shy Lily's defense, but not the incriminating one. Nano's document claimed manipulation when there wasn't any. Shy Lily was the one who told Nano she was being manipulated, and she was the only other person involved who pushed that claim to the public. Shy Lily started her reply to my apology with it, discrediting anything I said. Quote being, the absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight the apps is absolute insanity. My use of it's just business was dishonestly portrayed in Nano's document. Shy Lily used the phrase in her reply to me and was the only person who lied about the meaning behind it to the public and made it into a meme at my expense. Nano's document says my friends platformed me when talking about competition. That is very specific wording. Shy Lily said something very similar in her reply to my apology. She also said very similar things on her stream. In Nano's documentation, Nano quotes, the competition they're referring to are people I thought they considered friends who always helped support it and platformed Sinder. And Shy Lily's reply, everything you do is out of competition to your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. And then on Shy Lily's stream, let me just platform that very same person that tried to deplatform me and all of my friends that helped her get there to begin with. Let me just continue to platform that one person that tried to backstab us when begging to be in our positions. These two quotes from Nano's document are very similar to what Shy Lily said on her stream. Both were claiming the manipulation, and Shy Lily specifically used the word problematic when describing someone Nano wouldn't want to work with. In Nano's document, spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any further decisions regarding commissions. And in another quote, another example speaking ill in other creators right after they saw I was working with Shy Lily, trying to once again make the idea of working with other clients seem like I was setting myself up with problematic people to get me to reconsider working with them. And then a quote from Shy Lily's stream. It was about me being slandered, throwing all kinds of accusations around to Nano, making me seem problematic, weird, making me sound like a person someone wouldn't want to work with. Shy Lily implied she was directly involved in making the document on her stream. And this is a quote from Shy Lily. I don't know where I was, but let me just say in this section that she dedicated to Cotton and me. She said, sorry for not having any knowledge of this. And that's where I kind of got mad because, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we posted about is only stuff we have hard-coded receipts for. Obviously, there's lots of experience that doesn't exist on paper. It's only private experience. There's also more receipts, verifiable receipts, that weren't added to the doc because either they are smaller things that just only really became a problem when added up, or they were a little too private to be shared. They contain information that people just don't want to publicly have there, but it is kind of important for context, you know? So you pick and choose what you want to have up there. And most importantly, Nano's document is filled with the use of ands in its writing, just like and only like Shy Lily's own reply to me. It's fairly obvious to me that Nano conspired with Shy Lily to write her document for her. Even if Nano lied to Shy Lily from the start, Shy Lily still helped Nano lie. Besides presenting everything in such a convoluted order, there were doctored screenshots in her document like I showed above. The same screenshots in Bao's document being uncropped and unedited shows that Bao was being honest with the information she was given, but Nano and Shy Lily weren't. Being the person who presumably wrote Nano's document, Shy Lily and Nano would have known exactly what I meant by it's just business. But she was the one who lied the most about it in Nano's document in her reply to me and on her stream. Interesting how she was able to connect my messages from what same conversation with Nano to how I must have known about what Red said in his DMs with her 2 years later, but somehow not the fact that my use of the phrase and its meaning came directly from what he said the day before. Screenshots from 11/25/2023. And then screenshots from 11/26/2023. Breaking down Bao's document. Originally, I had gone through Bao's entire document, pointing out the lies within it, but I no longer believe she and my other friends were lying. They were misinformed and were speaking from what they thought was true. Nano and Shy Lily lied to and manipulated them all to see the story their way. Bao was understandably hurt when she found out about what happened and wasn't in a sound state of mind after her surgery. I'll only be going over parts of Bao's document with the context that she may not have had the full story from Nano or our side of the story, and pointing out her assumptions that weren't true. Just like in Nano's document, Bao's document presents things as if her model was only cancelled once in August 2024, even though Nano cancelled it a second time in her deal with Red in January 2025. I will address this down below. And then here's Bao's document for reference. Bao goes on to say in her document, before I start, I want to point out why I'm addressing both Sinder and Redacted, despite the messages being largely from Redacted. Many times throughout the messages, the words we, we're, and our occur numerous times. As someone who was close to and worked with Sinder for years, I have firsthand experience of how Sinder and Red collaborate and the extent to which Red operates as her primary point of contact in her professional and personal projects. It is that experience that leads me to believe that all requests and messages sent by Red were both known about and approved by Sinder. Just like Nano's document, this was an assumption that they corroborated with each other, and Bao refers to Red's actions as both of ours in her document. This wasn't true, and no one could definitely say that in every single instance, Red was just a surrogate for my thoughts and feelings. Red is an individual who can think and feel for himself. Bao shows 0 screenshots of my own DMs in her document. One of the only times Bao had first-hand experience of the way Red and I worked together was with the She-Wolf cover song. Bao messaged Red, not me, and Red didn't tell me all the information when he asked me about it, or in the 3 days before Bao messaged me directly. Her own experience with us should have cast doubt on this claim. And Sinder saying, wait, I thought it was just the two of us? Maybe Red didn't tell me everything. As I will show, Bao is clearly talking about her model being cancelled of August in 2024 here. In regards to Bao saying, after she finished both the design and base model sketch, there was suddenly back and forth on whether or not she had the physical and mental capacity to continue my model. Nano told Red herself that Bao's model hadn't been started yet. 2 weeks before canceling Bao's model, Nano told him she wanted to cancel models, asking him about canceling on Bao specifically, and telling him she wasn't the only one she was considering canceling. Bao saying there was a back and forth could imply that Nano approached her before August 5th when Red messaged Nano again, already saying she may not continue her model. In regards to, in a private group chat that Sinder was a part of, I shared how devastated I was, and she did not comment or say anything despite others in the group chat comforting and reassuring me. This was Bao's message she sent to our group chat when her model was cancelled on August 6, 2024, which she also included in her tweet replying to my apology. I knew about this before Bao did. I felt guilty about it and didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I should have been a better friend and at least tried talking to Nano for her, but I didn't. If this was Nano's decision like I was told, then I wasn't going to get involved. Bao says in her document, I now realize that the reason for her silence was because Sinder and Redacted were deliberately sabotaging ongoing commissions and blocking VTubers such as myself from having access to art from Nanolist. This claim is false. Bao would only have said this if Nano told her that this is what was happening. Bao had reason to believe it too, with Nano telling her that her model was one of the ongoing commissions affected. Right after talking all about August 2024, when her model was cancelled the first time, Bao presents screenshots from January 15th, 2025, over 5 months later, to explain why her model was cancelled in August. It is out of order and missing context as well. The screenshots Bao shows in Nano's DMs with Red are the same one Nano uses in her document, including the times of discrepancies I discussed. I will include the date and time of them in EST like I did before, and as shown in the full context of these conversations in Nano's section of the document. This is a screenshot from 1:15 at 7 p.m. to 7:05, shown 2 hours ahead of EST. Like was shown above, Nano's messages calling the deal fair and asking for a demon figure were cut from this exact same screenshot in Nano's document, but are present in Bao's document. Here's what it looks like in Nano's document. Screenshot from 1:15/2025, 6:29 p.m. to 6:34 p.m. EST, shown 2 hours ahead of EST. As I pointed out before, Bao's document shows the message about content above, unlike Nano's. And just like the Nano document, the following messages from Nano are missing entirely. This wasn't Bao's fault, they were missing. It's all Nano gave her. Screenshot from 1:15/2025, 6:52 p.m. to 6:54 p.m., shown 2 hours ahead of EST. And again, the message from Nano right after this are missing too. In regards to Nanolis asked Redacted on why he's encouraged her not to finish my model. Sinder says, this statement is false and it's not what happened, but Bao may have been told this was the case. This list above was how Red felt about Bao and his reasoning as to why he wanted to exclude her from working with Nano in his exclusivity deal in January 2025. But Bao, who only had the context Nano shared with her, applied these reasons to her model being cancelled in August 2024 to explain why Red manipulated Nano to cancel it then. While Red was looking to prevent Bao from working with Nano, which was wrong, he didn't even know Bao had a model planned with her again. When Nano told him about it, he backed off, followed by Nano asking if he was sure, and for him to explain why to her. In In regards to, this is what Redacted lists as reasons why Nanola should cancel her ongoing live 2D commissions with me. Bao's model was cancelled in August 2024 after Nano told Red Bao's model wasn't started. And like I showed before, Nano said here that she had Bao on her commissions list, as in not ongoing. I do not believe Nano would cancel a project if she had any significant amount of work invested into it already. In regards to, friends do not sabotage other friends out of business opportunities. Friends do not spread lies to fuel selfish narratives. Friends do not use private information they get from the privilege of being close friends just to use it to manipulate others. I've never done any of these things. My friends both knowingly and unknowingly sabotaged me out of innumerable business opportunities when they chose to make this public. Nanolist and Shy Lily spread lies about me to fuel their own selfish narratives to my friends and to the public. Nano used the private information Nano had in her messages with Red that she had from being close friends with him to use it to manipulate my friends and the public. Bao's model wasn't sabotaged by Red when it was originally canceled in 2024. He didn't lie about anything he genuinely believed about her, and none of the 5 reasons Bao listed above or anything else Red said to Nano about Bao were private information or things he knew from the privilege of either of us being friends with her. After showing screenshots from January 2025, the next screenshot she presents is from August 2024, where she states it's another screenshot of Red urging Nano to cancel her model, as if from the same situation. According to the document, it says, more screenshots of them urging Nanolis to cancel the ongoing live 2D commission with me, even mentioning how excited I was about it when I showed them the design during Sinder and I's concert at WeebCon in 2024. These are all Red's messages, not from them, like Bao says. Nano wanted to cancel Bao's model, and Red reassured her about it. Red said, I remember her showing it to us at WeebCon, without ever mentioning how excited Bao was about it when she showed us the design. In regards to, I wouldn't offer it for free, maybe half price if she starts shit. In Nano's section, Red explained that he thought Nano should still be paid for the design work she did for Bao. The possibility of her starting shit was based on his own opinion of how she would react to the bad news from Nano. This screenshot of their DM shown in Bao's document was not included in Nano's document. In Bao's document, it states on March 20th, I started a group Discord call that lasted 5 hours to hang out with my editors. In this group call, Blank shared with us that he was afraid to ask Sinder for a raise because he initially turned down an exclusivity deal. As a friend to both Sinder and Blank, I encouraged him to take the deal and reassured him that it would not change our friendship, as I would never want someone I care about to miss an opportunity, even if it meant I would lose him as an editor. The other editors who were in the call can corroborate this. Sinder's response is, we were completely unaware Bao encouraged our video editor to take our exclusivity offer. This call apparently happened over a month before I was canceled, over a month after Nano canceled the deal with Red, and over 2 months since they first made it. Our video editor never told Red and I about this. The few times they asked for raises while working with me, I was more than happy to accommodate them every single time. Bao says in her document, I'm in shock and disbelief that this is the narrative they decided I deserved. Saying that I harbored an invisible jealousy because my songs flopped made me feel sick to my stomach. In late 2024, I was dealing with debilitating TMJ pain that resulted in me having to drain fluid from my jaw joint to open my mouth properly. They both knew this. I've always wanted my friends to succeed alongside me, and I don't know how they could say these things while simultaneously weaponizing my most vulnerable moments against me. Sinder's response to this is, Red pieced together the narrative he convinced himself of and told Nano, as was laid out in Bao's section. Bao was the one who spoke ill of her own song's performance in her public Discord server last year, and Red decided it was a contributing factor in what happened. It had nothing to do with the TMJs she's talking about, but I can see why she'd think it was. Her most vulnerable moments were not used against her. In Bao's document, there's a section that is called, Why Aren't You Solving This Privately? And Bao writes in this section saying, if you look at the timeline of events from Nano's document, some of those messages date back years. I found out about this in less than 48 hours ago, and they did not give me common courtesy of talking to me privately about this over those years. My thoughts, feelings, my most vulnerable, darkest moments I had shared in confidence with people I thought would be on my side for years and years from now may have been used as information to ruin my chances to have the same VTuber model as someone I thought was my friend, and I don't know how I can ever be the same after this. In regards to, if you look at the timeline events from Nano's document, I don't know how anyone can understand the timeline of events from Nano's document when everything was presented out of order and out of context. In regards to some of those messages date back years, I found out about this less than 48 hours ago, and they did not give me common courtesy of talking to me privately about this over those years. This was not over years. The only times Nano and Red had meaningful conversations about Bao was at the end of July and early August 2024, and in January 2025. From the time Bao's document was written, the oldest of these messages would have been about 9 months old. The problem Red had with Bao was only in December 2024, about 4.5 months before her document was posted. Either one of us should have talked to Bao when we had the chance, and we didn't. In regards to my thoughts, feelings, and most vulnerable, darkest moments that I shared in confidence. None of the reasons Bao listed above or anything else Red said to Nano about Bao was private information, things she shared in confidence, or had anything to do with her most vulnerable, darkest moments. In Bao's document, she says, I would like to ask the community to refrain from spreading any harmful speculation. Everything shared in this document was done so with the express permission of those who shared it with me. I made this document with the intent to refute the claims made about me in the screenshots. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Bao's stream on 4/27/2025. Bao streamed the night after posting her tweet in response to my apology. Just like her document, I won't be going over everything Bao said on her stream. And many of the things she said were because she was convinced it was the truth. I'm choosing to believe she wasn't lying, but she was wrong. 4/27/25. And this is a quote from Bao's stream. Well, I don't know. I can't even remember what the conversation was like because I was just in such a state of, it was like I'm hearing what Lily and Nano are telling me, but it's like I cannot compute it. I just kind of remember seeing the screenshots. How much did Nano tell Bao, and how much did Shy Lily say for her? The screenshots Bao saw couldn't have been more than what Shy Lily saw. I believe Nano hid the full context of them from the start. There's another quote from Bao from her stream. In every scenario, I tried to wrap my head around what I would have done if I was in their shoes. I can't. I couldn't understand it. We have been through so much offline and online, and there is nothing more confusing and more painful than seeing someone in your friend group be so kind and so warm to everyone around you, and feeling that they have slowly become colder and colder towards you, and not knowing what you did or if it's your imagination. But because everyone loves them, you don't know if you want to say anything. And so you keep it to yourself, and you keep hoping it's your imagination. But then the cruel realization hits that it wasn't, and it's even worse than you could have ever imagined. And you wonder why all those times where they talked over you or ignored you if you had done something wrong. And I had just kept asking myself, out of everyone in our friend group, why was it me? And like, what did I do differently? And for so long, I was jealous of how warm they treated my friends, and how I wondered why it just felt so different towards me. Reading everything, confirming my worst fears, was awful. Sinder says, Bao couldn't understand what happened because she didn't have the full context or ever know the motivations and reasoning behind it that was explained in her section. Red and I never talked to her when we should have, and I'm sorry to Bao for that. Bao also says in her stream, everyone knows how special a VTuber's debut is. That is kind of the most important day of a VTuber's career and all of the preparation and foresight needed to make it happen. No one tells you how stressful the project management is. No one tells you how to run a commission, all of the assets, all the coordination with merch shops to have everything come out of the dot. Making sure that at the same time you're planning everything, you're having to advertise it. You know, you look at the content creator online, and even though you are seeing one person on the screen, behind that one person is a really big team that they have to coordinate with. And that takes a lot of time. And if you're a VTuber and you have models and live 2D artists to work with, you know that they're booked out sometimes years in advance. And to have a sudden cancellation like that happen so suddenly right in the middle of everything happening I can't even begin to tell you like how hard it is to pivot and to restructure how the rest of next month or couple of months is going to go in order to fill up that space. Some VTubers plan this out years in advance. I'm not even joking. So to say I was devastated when my model was canceled is kind of an understatement. Sinder says, I completely sympathize with what Bao said here, which is part of the reason why Nano was so important to Red and I as my model artist. And another quote from Bao's stream. I sat on that design for so long, and I was so heartbroken that I just deleted the tweet where I teased it. I couldn't even look at it anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's stupid, but if you're a VTuber, your model is what represents you, and you really do have to fall in love with it because it's an extension of yourself. And so I had that model as my subathon goal, one of my top subathon goals for a while. And I showed it to everybody around me. I'm very used to very cute, dainty designs, and I wanted to see what it would feel like to have a sexier model. And ever since that happened, I thought about getting a different artist and keeping the design, but it felt like it wasn't the same. And I didn't want an artist to just draw over the design, so I shelved it. And I hoped that maybe one day Nano would be free enough to take my commission. I told her that even if it was years from now, I would love to revisit the commission. Cinder responds, Bao said here that her model with Nano was shelved and implied it wasn't ever rescheduled again. Bao goes on to say in her stream, there's so many ways to be competitive and still not hurt other people in the process. And I don't know. I feel like even when she was so much smaller than me and was just starting out, I still remember showing up calling her during a random stream and just making a little bit out of it. I think I speak for all of my friends, but we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for each other. And I have always felt that way, that every success that each of us has is everyone's success. Sinder responds, I was never competitive towards Bao in the same way I felt towards Silvervale. I agree with everything Bao said here, and I'll always be grateful to her and my friends for what they did for me. I'm proud of what I was able to do for them too. Bao says in her stream, and that's the most effed up part about it, is that the whole time I was like, what did I do? What did I do? And, why was I even considered a threat at all? I felt like she was so much more successful, and I felt like she had everything that I could ever dream of, and there was no need to kick the ladder down. There was no need. Cinder responds, if Bao or any of my friends had come to us before making things public, they would have found out the motivations behind what Red did. Bao was never considered a threat. Someone put that idea into her head because it's not something ever said in Red's messages. Bao says in her stream, how could you accuse me of being a thief when I spent 5 hours talking to our editor, telling him and assuring him that I would never stop being his friend, even if he took an exclusivity deal with you? And it would mean I would only have 2 editors for my channel. And that still did not stop me from considering your financial well-being and the success and growth of your channel. And they could not even spare the same thought for me. Cinder responds, like I explained when going over Bao's document, our editor never told Red or I about this conversation with Bao. We had no idea it ever happened. Red was the one who had a problem with our editor working with Bao, and only after December 2024. Before that, it wasn't a problem for either of us, except initially like I explained in Bao's section. Red's conversation with Nano about it was in January 2025, 2 months before Bao's conversation with our editor. Bao says in her stream, you did not know how many friends I was told to put in my Google Doc the fact that you had a significant other. And no matter how many people told me to put it in and how stupid I would be to not put it in, I could not bring myself to put it in because I knew what that would do to your reputation. And you cannot spare that same thought from me. It would have been so easy for me to prove that you had seen the messages, but I couldn't do it because in the end, I still wouldn't do that to you. And so I wonder why you would do that to me. Cinder responds, I appreciate Bao for not putting my relationship in her document while under the pressure from Shy Lily and our other friends to do so, but I would never do that to anyone like she claimed I would. Red and I being in a relationship doesn't prove that I had seen all of his messages. My friends had no way of knowing that, or not just because we were together. However, if Nano lied about the alleged years of manipulation and abuse she suffered with us, then I can see why my friends wouldn't believe I didn't know about any of the things I actually didn't. But the story Nano told them isn't true. Bao says in her stream, so I looked at when I read your apology, I was just looking for some semblance of, I just wanted to know if you would know what to say. I just wanted to know if you ever had thought of me as a close friend or if it was just one-sided or not. And I felt like I still didn't know by the end of the reading your apology. And that really freaking sucks. And now I just don't know what to think or what to believe and how easily I could have turned this into a personal vendetta. But I kept it strictly about the people and the clients that were affected and how their careers were put on pause because suddenly a month-long project was put on hold, and to pivot so suddenly, especially when many VTuber debuts are tied around a holiday or a birthday on dates that cannot be changed. Cinder says, when I wrote my apology, I was blindsided by what Red did and said about her to Nano behind my back, and everyone thought it was my fault. I couldn't accurately explain everything that happened between Red and I over Bao with the pressure I was under, but I also felt I couldn't own up to the way I treated Bao and the role I played in making her feel the way that she did without the context. I didn't know what to do or what to say or how to say it, so I said the bare minimum. Bao deserved better at the time, and I hope I can make it right now. Bao mentions that she kept her document about the people and clients that were affected. Was she talking about these clients? Bao wouldn't have known what really happened to their projects, but Nano did. Bao says on stream, Numi forgave you when you didn't come to her concert that you were planning with her for over half a year. I wonder if you knew how devastated she was and how in the middle of the year when I was so depressed and there were some days where I could not even bring myself to leave my bed, I still managed to fly 6 hours to New York to be there for her. Sinder responds, Bao saying I didn't come to Numi's concert that I was planning for her for over half a year was the only thing she lied about on her stream. I'm choosing to believe this was just a mistake in the heat of the moment and not a deliberate lie. There's a portion of this section below talking about Numi's concert where I'll talk about this again. Bao says in her stream, I feel like at every single pivotal moment where you had the choice to be a good person and a good friend, you chose not to be. And no matter how many times me and our friends try to wrap our heads around it and try to make sense of it, we can't. We can't because every single time we come to the realization that that's not what we would do if we cared. At some point, what are you even trying to one-up? Sinder says, the only pivotal moments I can assume Bao was talking about here was with Numi's concert that she just spoke about, and possibly when I didn't say anything after her model was canceled in August. Bao and the rest of my friends didn't understand because they didn't have the full story. I was never trying to one-up any of my friends, including Bao. Bao goes on to say, and even then, you're bound to get jealous as a content creator. But what you choose to do with that jealousy is what defines your character. You can either let it make you spiteful, or you can fuel it to forge your own success. Because when you're a streamer, yeah, you can share audiences with people, but at the end of the day, you are building your own community. You shouldn't focus on trying to take what other people have because that's not how you'd get it. That's what they made for themselves. I felt like from my point of view, they were so much more further ahead than me, than I can even imagine. And I got kicked down a ladder that I felt like I initially gave you. None of us would be where we are without each other. Sinder responds, jealousy didn't feel anything Red or I did. Someone else was telling Bao that was the case. None of the evidence shows I or Red ever being jealous of anyone because we weren't. I don't know what Bao is talking about when she implies I was taking other people's communities for myself, and I didn't kick down the ladder on her. In January, Red made a mistake that I didn't know about to stop it from happening. I agree. Bao was someone who was kind to a VTuber much smaller than her. Someone she had no obligation to show any kindness to. But she did, and so did the rest of my friends, and I'll always be thankful to them for it and everything they've done for me. Bao says, you could not have had this go on for so long and not know about it. Sinder says, this wasn't going on, and not for as long as my friends were misled to believe by Nano. Any of the problems Red had with Bao only started in December 2024. If I were them, I can understand why it'd be unbelievable too. Bao goes on to say, I feel like I was tasked with an impossible choice, and I hate it, but I had to be in the position where it had to be me to say something or no one else would. And it's not about whether or not I am right or wrong, but it's the fact that I didn't even want to be in this position to begin with. And I know that for so many people to be affected that it was the right decision to do. But it really freaking sucks that I had to do it in the first place. And I feel like I've been given that impossible task so many times already in my career. If I don't say something, then no one else will. And if I had a choice to not do it, then I would take it. But I know that would be the wrong choice. Sinder says, just like Buff said, Bao had an impossible choice given to her by everyone involved. And this is regards to the Fire VTuber that was discussed earlier. I believe Bao made the best choice with the information she had, the state of mind she was in, and for all of the people she was thinking about when making it. I forgive her for what she chose to do. What I don't understand is why the choice to make anything public was left up to Bao. Why didn't they look to Nano to say something when all of the evidence was from her DMs? Why was it Bao's responsibility to say something or no one else would? Why would they put that pressure on her in the state she was in? Speculation. Nano could have said she wouldn't make anything public without Bao. Nano knew her story was a lie all along. It couldn't stand on its own, so she wasn't going to say anything unless it was backed up by Bao. Bao goes on to say, I just wish my apology had any semblance of evidence that you even knew me as a person and not just someone that you had to surpass. And when I read it, I felt like you didn't. Sinder says, Bao was never someone I felt I needed to surpass. Someone else must have convinced her that was the case. I cared about Bao, but Bao was my friend that I wasn't treating like my friend for too long. I'm sorry I wasn't a better one to her when I needed to be. Why did Shy Lily have to contact Bao for Nano? Speculation. Shy Lily encouraged Nano to bring her DMs to the people affected, including Bao, but Shy Lily was the one who ended up reaching out to Bao. Why? I don't think Nano could confront Bao herself. Nano only showed Shy Lily the select screenshots of what happened in her DMs with Red over Bao's model, not the full context. The difference was that Shy Lily was already on her side after she told Nano she was being manipulated. If Nano went to Bao alone, Bao wouldn't have any of that pre-established context, meaning Nano would have had to explain what happened to her model by itself. Bao would have obviously wanted to see all the messages of it happening, and Nano would have incriminated herself. But if Shy Lily was the one to contact Bao for her, Shy Lily could explain Red's manipulation and the messages about herself first. Then Nano wouldn't need to show the full context of the messages about Bao and her model because Shy Lily was vouching for her. She just had to nod along. Bao wouldn't have doubted Shy Lily's word. Was Bao's model really canceled a second time? Speculation. Throughout this document, I've been writing under the assumption that Bao's model with Nano was canceled twice. First in August of 2024 and second in January 2025. Nano told Red in January that Bao's model was on her commission list and went as far as to offer to cancel it a second time herself, eventually agreeing to do so in their deal. But Nano's document, which Shy Lily presumably wrote for her with the information Nano gave her, and Bao's document never mentioned her model ever being canceled another time after August 2024. She said on stream that after her model was canceled the first time, it was shelved. Unless Bao was lying, I don't believe her model was ever officially rescheduled with Nano after August 2024, meaning it couldn't have been canceled a second time. What I think happened is that when Bao's model was canceled and she told Nano the above, Nano kept Bao's model on her commission list in something like an indefinite waitlist section unbeknownst to Bao. When Red approached Nano about their exclusivity deal and brought up Bao's name, Nano said it was on her list, not telling him the context of it being there. After encouraging Red to explain his reasoning to her, she offered to cancel Bao's model forever in exchange for us paying for her own model's rigging, which she discounted from our next commission with her. Why would Nano have been so quick to offer to cancel Bao's model a second time when she didn't have the courage to do it the first time in August 2024? Because Nano didn't have to cancel it this time. She never had to confront Bao because the model was never rescheduled. Nano knew she wasn't accountable for Bao's model when she made Red her offer, but Red didn't know that. She used it to negotiate with Red to get what she wanted at Bao's expense, offering to cancel it for basically nothing. In making this deal, she just had to forever kick the model down the road, never making time for it, while Bao would forever cling on to hope that she would. Out of the messages I showed above, these were the only ones present in Nano's document. Nano never showed Bao, Shy Lily, and my friends the messages where she and Red were talking about Bao's model in January. She never showed when it was first brought up, when Nano offered to cancel it, or when they made their agreement. Nano lied to my friends and told them she never made a deal with Red, like it said in Nano's document, and they believed her. She never showed them it happening and never happened to prove it did other than Nano's rigging getting paid for, including Bao's model never actually getting canceled a second time. No matter what Red said to Nano in that conversation, no one that was named in their agreed upon deal suffered any losses due to it before it was canceled. Did Nano even want to make Bao's model? Speculation. In November 2023, Nano was excited to do Bao's model before there was a design for it. All that was known was that it would be a mommy model, and it was planned for June 2024. Bao showed Red and I the finished design for this model at WeebCon in March of 2024. Bao's model was planned for June 2024, but by the end of July, it hadn't even been started. Nano told Red she was considering canceling her model, and she encouraged her to do what she thought was best for her. Nano canceled Bao's model at the start of August 2024. Bao said on her stream on 4/27 that her model was shelved after it was canceled. When negotiating a deal with Red in January 2025, Nano offered to cancel Bao's model forever in exchange for paying for her model's rigging that she'd discount from our next commission, essentially canceling it for nothing. When she canceled her deal with him about a month later because she wanted to work with Silverveil, she told Red she didn't care about Bao. Nano was excited to work with Bao in November 2023, but after the design was made, she didn't want to make the actual model for it. I'm not going to say what the design was out of respect for Bao's plans, but it's possible that it could have been a factor. Nano canceled the model once, and without having to deal with the guilt of canceling it a second time, she offered to cancel it forever for her own benefit. Red coming to her in January was just an outside excuse for her to never have to actually do it, while getting something she wanted out of it at the same time. It doesn't sound like Nano wanted to make Bao's model, no matter when or if she ever made time for it. Do you know what Nano specifically said she did want to work on? It's a screenshot of Nanola saying, "I'm freaking out with my comms and I think I just want to do Sinder stuff." Shy Lily's response to my apology. Shy Lily's reply to my apology is what canceled me. With over 8 million views, it's full of false accusations without showing any evidence and triggering language to turn people against me, painting me in a bad of a light as possible, the same way Nano's document was written. I'm willing to bet that most people just read Shy Lily's reply and said nothing. And nothing else. It's much easier to only read this than read my whole apology. And who wouldn't trust Shy Lily? And then here's Shy Lily's reply for reference, which was read previously. In regards to the absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. Sinder responds, "The first thing Shy Lily did was completely discredit anything I said in my apology as unbelievable, claiming it was all manipulation and gaslighting. No one was going to question her. She's Shy Lily. Shy Lily was involved in everything from the start, convinced Nano she was being manipulated, organized my friends against me, and evidently wrote Nano's document for her. In regards to the pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest and most supportive of you have been devastating, and I've never been so heartbroken and hurt so badly for my friends." Sinder responds, "Yes, I hurt Numi when I chose business over her concert, and I apologize, but I was still there at the show for her. I was a terrible friend to Bao and should have talked to her instead of ignoring the problem with Red. I selfishly left Tricky behind in Japan when I wanted to make the most of my time there. I'm not innocent of ever hurting my friends." Shy Lily, in response to Shy Lily saying, "You're the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting, reading and hearing of how you've really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots of your man, but also your very own messages while having to sit here and read through these bullshit lies you spin makes me want to vomit." Cinder's response is, "The only message I ever sent to anyone about how I viewed Shy Lily behind her back was about how I looked up to her as a role model, and that once I became a part owner of Gamer Subs, I felt pressured by no one other than myself to live up to the bar she set. This is what I said to Numi when apologizing to her about her concert, and wasn't a situation that was brought up by anyone before Shy Lily's reply to my already posted apology." Red said that he thought we'd have to start considering her competition if she was going to treat me differently for seemingly no reason, and was now working with our most valued artists. I didn't feel that way, and those weren't my words. In response to claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to, when everyone who shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment. Sinder responds, "I didn't say I didn't know a single thing Red ever did. I didn't know about the specifics of what happened in Red's conversations with Nano and the other few instances shown in this document. He summarized things to me, but didn't tell me everything and lied to me about their exclusivity deal. I didn't read his messages myself, and I didn't question what he told me because I trusted him. The only thing I lied about not knowing was about Red talking to Nano about spite, and that was not to make the situation worse for myself. Shy Lily and my friends who corroborated that we operate as the same person did not have any idea how Red and I worked together at home, or even the fact that we lived together. The same way they didn't ever see us argue or knew that I cheated on him in the past. Them blaming everything on me only works if it's to be believed we share every message, thought, and feeling, and before they're acted upon." In response to, while loving to jump at the slightest opportunity to turn your most slanderous self as soon as opportunity was given, even when talking about your friends, is sickening. Sinder says in response, I don't know what Shy Lily thinks she's referring to. I've never slandered any of my friends. What Red said in his own messages to Nano about Bao were his own opinions. As explained, Red didn't maliciously lie about anyone like Shy Lily did about me, and only said what he believed was true from his own experience. Red is his own person with his own thoughts, feelings, opinions, and experiences, but his own personal involvement in what happened was intentionally ignored to pin all the blame on me. In response to, I've experienced your own actions without Red in a situation where you owned screenshotted words, you expressed a pressure to live up to what Lily is, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning just because you consistently chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. Cinder responds, Shy Lily brings up what happened with Numi's concert, something I had no idea was expected to address since it was already settled between us and wasn't related to any of the accusations made against me. I'm going to break this apart down in pieces. In regards to, I have experienced your own actions without Red in a situation where, in your own screenshotted words, you express a pressure to live up to what Lily is. Shy Lily did not experience this. This was in a private conversation between Numi and I. She said this was in my own screenshotted words, but there was never any screenshots of any of the situation made public, but she chose to address it publicly. In regards to, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning. I did not proceed to throw Numi under the bus. I said this while I was apologizing to her for the decision I made, ending with me trying to make my mistakes right by facing my fears and getting on stage or rescheduling the collab I had with Shy Lily to be at her concert sooner. I did make it to her concert, and I was there to support her. Shy Lily says months of continuous planning, but the first message of Numi trying to plan anything with me was to Red 2.5 weeks before I decided not to perform, and 5 weeks before the show itself. There was nothing planned beyond me being on stage because of my own hesitancy, not even having songs picked out. Bao also said this was being planned for over half a year, which may be true for the concert itself, but not me being involved. In regards to, just because you consistently choose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. Cinder responds, I did choose business over a friend when it was between V-Card after my promotion to part owner and making it to Numi's concert, but I did feel bad about my decisions before I had even heard from Numi. My tweet is evidence of that. I was wrong and I apologized to her. I was still at her show, supporting her. Me canceling my performance had nothing to do with business and everything to do with my own fears and insecurities. Shy Lily says, just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Car collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. Cinder responds, our collab had nothing to do with earning the bag. I had already earned plenty the day before on the actual launch day. It was about being responsible as a new part owner of a brand and representing them during a very important launch week alongside Shy Lily. If I wanted to compete with Shy Lily, then I wouldn't have asked to collab. Why would I have wanted to share the screen with her in that case? I wanted to collab to work together so her card game was as big of a success as we can make it for the entire company. I rescheduled our collab on that day, oblivious to my friend's event, in my blind excitement for V-Card, as I explained before. It was a mistake, and I made another mistake choosing it over to going to the concert. But the collab was rescheduled after I had already pulled out from the performance. I agreed to be in the show, but I never made a promise to Numi I would perform, or that I would be there. And Numi even told Red it was okay if I didn't do either. But it sounds a lot worse on me for Shy Lily to claim that I did break a promise to a friend for money. Agreeing to do something and making a promise to a friend have very different connotations, especially when making claims to the public without any evidence. Shy Lily then says, you actively lied about it to them, instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass when you realized you were being a bad friend. Why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in that friend's career? Shy Lily said I blamed her for missing an obligation I agreed to. No, what I agreed to was to perform, and I didn't perform because of my own reasons. Not going to the concert is what she's talking about, which by Numi's own words I wasn't obligated to go to. I didn't lie to Numi, and I didn't blame Shy Lily, and the fact that she thinks I did points out the importance she gives herself when it isn't about her. She made my apology to Numi about her when it wasn't. I took accountability for what I did and apologized to my friend, and still made it out to show her, and still made it to her show after our collab. When I made the decision not to go to Numi's concert, I told her I felt obligated to be around for V-Card's launch weekend as a partial Gamer Subs owner now. My collab with Shy Lily was planned for that day, but even if that wasn't happening, my choice would have likely been the same. When I apologized to her, I told her I felt pressure to live up to what Shy Lily is for gamer subs and the VTuber community now that I had the same position. I wasn't blaming Shy Lily, it was about my new position as part owner. Shy Lily was the only example to follow in the footsteps of, and she set the bar I felt I needed to hold myself to for the company. I then told Numi that I made plans to collab with Shy Lily the day after V-Card's launch day, and that I planned it as early in the days as possible to make it to her show. I should have been more clear when I said that I didn't really know how to tell Shy Lily no, as I explained in the V-Card section of the document. This was not at all me blaming Shy Lily for the collab I planned with her, or that it was the main reason I made the choice I did. I said I shouldn't have thought to put a product launch over my friend's once-in-a-lifetime event, because my decision wasn't solely about the collab with Shy Lily or trying to blame her for it. My decision was because it was V-Card's launch weekend. Shy Lily says, everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. Sinder says, I myself only viewed one person as competition. It wasn't Shy Lily, and it wasn't any of my friends. And yes, my friends have helped me along the way, some a lot more than others that I should have been more grateful towards, and we all grew together. But I don't owe every single thing I have to them, and I especially don't owe anything to Shy Lily. Her saying, you're welcome, by the way, comes off as extremely narcissistic, as if she had any major impact on where I am and what I've accomplished and expects credit for it. Other than the few collabs we had, most of which were on my stream, and a skep she agreed to let me get, I have no idea what she could be talking about. As far as she said, she's always had a bad feeling about me, making it seem like the few things we did together she begrudgingly agreed to in the first place. Shy Lily says, you claim that it's just business. Well, in the business world, there has to be accountability, and all you've done is try to shove it away and admit to nothing. Shy Lily purposely misconstrued my it's just business quote into something to attack me with, just like in Nano's document. In the actual context of the situation where this quote comes from, I meant it to accept whatever decision Nano chose for herself, regardless of how I feel about it, because in the end, it's just business. If you actually read my apology, you'd see that I admitted to more than nothing like she claims here. I just didn't admit to the things I didn't do. Shy Lily says, in true narcissistic fashion, you're only feeling sorry about yourself and your own consequences and your career and trying to salvage it. Sinder says, again, if you actually read my apology, you see that I apologize and take accountability for the things I did do. Shy Lily is the only person who made the claim I was narcissistic, and given her actions before and after this, it really seems like projection. Shy Lily then says, I'm sorry for everyone who ever looked up to you as an inspiration, and I'm especially sorry for your fans. Pyropups deserve better. Sinder says, if how Shy Lily handled everything and what she did to me is what's supposed to be better than what I was to the Pyropups, then it's not my community I'd feel sorry for. Shy Lily stream on 4/28/2025. Shy Lily didn't hold back at all on her stream, telling her viewers how she really felt about me. She went full mask off and convinced the public it was completely justified, mockingly saying, it's all just business. If it wasn't evident by her tweet, you'll see from her stream that Shy Lily is not a reliable or trustworthy narrator. Shy Lily says, the business eye should be green with a $sign. Yeah, but, or maybe like a little knife. Sorry, this is going to be my way of coping with this. You're going to have to just sit through this. You're going to have to sit through these very distasteful comments. It's simply business. Throughout her stream, Shy Lily justifies her petty jabs at me as her way of coping. Just like her tweet, she continually makes fun of the phrase, it's just business. She was the one who purposely lied about what I meant by it to make it look bad on me. You don't have to give me biddies and shmoney to make me feel better. We're not like that in here. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but like coping, okay? Coping. Petty. I don't know what you're talking about. We're just going to be back on business tonight. It's just business as usual. Petty. I also just saw someone feeling bad for taking the apology seriously and feeling dumb about it. I'm going to be honest, okay? I'm having a hard time being upset with anyone who still trusts and forgives her because, and as I say this with all honesty, the reason it worked for so long is because her words are as sweet as butter, and chances are you're probably simply just as easily manipulated as everyone else. If you read all of the things and you see nothing wrong with it, give it a few years. Experience will show you what the frick is behind those messages. Shy Lily continues to discredit anything I said in my apology, manipulating the audience to see things her way. You're probably simply just as easily manipulated as everyone else if you don't. The only night that was difficult was the first night after dropping the first doc. Shy Lily goes on to say, the first Google docky, sorry, that was the only tough night. That was the only tough one. It was 10 a.m., I had to go to bed, and just being scared of what the heck a literal manipulator could possibly come up with overnight, and what a shit show you could possibly wake up to when they have a platform that they use to manipulate hundreds of thousands of people with. Sinder says Shy Lily was terrified about how I could manipulate my way out of this, which is why I believe the documents were posted when they were, so I wouldn't be able to respond. Shy Lily goes to say, it's literally just hearsay, the entire apology, and worst of all, throughout this whole hearsay, it's full of BS. Shy Lily doesn't know what hearsay is. One's personal account is not hearsay. You've already seen the BS put out against me in Nano's document, and by the end of Shy Lily's stream, you'll see more. Shy Lily says, it's been a week, hasn't it? I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm actually really sad, but it's how I cope. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to tell you. If you don't understand, this might sound so effed up and psychotic, but I just need a laugh. Let me cope. Shy Lily was gleeful over her cancellation. Shy Lily says, I highly suggest you check it out yourself. Everything that is publicly available is through receipts. Needlessly to say, more stuff has happened, but most of these things don't have receipts, or the receipts have personal private stuff attached to it that's just, can't share. Some of the stuff we might talk about today is hearsay because that's just my own experience that happened in person. It's my word against whoever else wants to challenge it, and that's okay. But we made sure, and we all agree that everything we put online will only be receipts. Only receipts that we have, nothing else. No emotions, no experiences, no hearsay, no nothing. Only receipts. So obviously there's more. There's more receipts too, but those contain info it just contains sensitive stuff about others themselves, or even the criminal herself. Sinder says, if more proof of their claims wasn't shown due to containing personal info like Shy Lily said, I have no idea what it'd be if not what's already been shown and censored in this document. I didn't seem to have the problem putting my evidence together. She may be talking about my messages with Numi, and maybe Numi didn't want to be made public. Or Shy Lily's giving a BS reason to the full context of Nano's messages weren't shown, and the evidence she claims to have doesn't exist. Shy Lily also calls me a criminal in another petty insult. Shy Lily goes on to say, God, that when she said that, and when she tried to bring me onto, okay, I know when she said that and she tried to make this thing with me, and we were doing a collab, and she was just like, oh, the Charizard and Blastoise V-Card doing the, and then she gags. Oh, like, how dare you sit there and pretend to be some box legendary of something that you didn't create? Disgusting. Trust me. We all cringed, but people sometimes get excited, and they do cringeworthy stuff. Sinder says, there's a lot of animosity behind Shy Lily's words here. Why? Shy Lily says, it is typical narcissistic manipulation fashion, like this whole document. Like I said, if you don't see it that way, I don't blame you. Chances are you're too young and naive. You're just as gullible and easy to manipulate. If you don't see it, I fully get it. I don't support it. I hope you'll eventually see it, but it's typical. I take accountability for nothing. I shove the blame over to my man. I knew nothing. Everything was behind my back. I'm sorry you feel this way. Like, come on. Shy Lily manipulated her audience to her side, basically calling them stupid if they don't see things her way. Shy Lily says, companies don't want to have bad PR, and it's just business fashion. When a company has an employee F up, guess what? The company has to take action because of the employee. The company has to pay damages and make amends for the employee. It's just business, is what our good old little friend Snake would say. Petty. Shy Lily then goes on to say, you burned your Sinder merch? Honestly, if I can't encourage you, you paid for it. You do what the F you want. But if I can encourage you to do something, donate it. Okay, but again, you do what you want to do. If that's how you cope with this, that's also okay. But two things. Not to defend anything of what she's done, but you're just a viewer. You don't have to atone for someone's sins and feel bad about the good times you've had. Whether they were fake or not doesn't matter. You had a good time. Those are your memories to keep, But on top of that, again, if you cope by burning your merch, I ain't judging. You cope the way you want to cope. I cope through memes and making fun of things. That also isn't effing perfect. But if you have it in you and you can cope with it, try to donate everything you've got. Any shirt, sweater, figurine, plush, whatever the frick it is, just donate it. Shy Lily encourages viewers to donate any merch of mine that they have, but doesn't disavow burning it either. Shy Lily then says, the thing with the no drama rule is every time you have rules like this, there is a line that cannot be crossed. Because once that line is crossed, it's fair game. And based on people's reactions, I don't think anyone blames me for getting involved and speaking up and strongly speaking about it. Once a certain line is crossed, it's fair freaking game. I don't give a frick what kind of rules or morals I've got. It's fair freaking game. And then Lily is rated and reacts exactly how you expect.
Thank you, Double. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for the raid. What up, little pups? I just wanna say I have a very strong way of coping. I cope through humor.
Sucks. Love you, womp womp.
April sucks, doesn't it? I cope through humor, strongly through humor. I cope very strongly through humor. This isn't everyone's cup of tea, and I understand if it's not, but you've been warned.
Both professional and factual and just plain honest. You ain't got to apologize for crashing out. It was indeed called for. You deserve to feel how you didn't bog us for standing up for your friends.
And I'm very glad people think the same, so I was very scared posting this.
You know we all love you and will stand by you and your friends through thick and thin. But now let's cook some drugs or close some oblivion gates.
Like, I swear...
Heart to.
I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I cope through humor and poking fun at stuff, even though things are far from funny. Family funerals are very awkward.
Shiley goes on to say, it's when the dominoes fell. The dominoes fell. The actual starting point, the dominoes fell when one thing leaked. One singular thing, like 5 or so days ago. One thing leaked, a singular thing. And I go, it was about me being slandered, throwing all kinds of accusations around to Nano, making me seem problematic, weird, making me sound like a person someone wouldn't want to work with, because who does those things? One thing did not leak 5 or so days ago. By what Bao said, Shiley messaged her on Friday, April 18th, about what Nano told her. 5 days before this stream was Wednesday, April 23rd, when Bao was brought into things after her surgery. As the timeline at the top of this page shows, one thing leaked 2 weeks before this. Shiley knew about this for 2 weeks by the time of her stream, and in that time never said anything to me. The real things Red said weren't slander, and below you'll see Shiley admit that herself. Shiley is quoted here. They were saying I dodged collabs with them, collabs that had like 7 freaking other people in there. Collabs I was thrown into a big ass group chat and simply said, sorry, can't do. I have something that day. One of them was a dentist thing. I didn't have it on that specific day, but I just didn't want to. The day after the dentist, I just simply didn't want to I simply didn't freaking want to. And the other one, yeah, I dodged. Yeah, I did. Yeah, okay. Yeah, one of them I did because that one I already knew. And the other one, yes, I dodged. But you know what's weird? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. What about the 6 other people who are just looking at me dodging and going, oh, okay, she's busy? It's kind of weird that the only person that has a reason to be weary was actually weary. What about the 6 other people that I also just left hanging where I said, sorry, I'm busy? They just took it and they were like, okay, we'll just replace someone else. Cool. You know, it's called projection because she freaking knew. She knew. So anyways, I was accused of dodging, which somewhat fairly I did do once. Shiley starts talking about dodging collabs. Here's what Red said. And the one and only collab she could be talking about here was the Repo collab that happened on 3/21/2025. Here's the first messages of that collab being planned. It was originally going to be on 3/15/2025. Shiley said she was available. Here are the messages on March 15, 2025. Let me know. If not, maybe next week then. Shiley says that she's down. And she says anything works for me, that she has no plans. One of our friends couldn't make the 3/15 date for the collab, and because we wanted to include everyone, the collab was rescheduled to 3/21. Shiley said she was free again. Sinder says she can't do next Thursday, but she's free Friday. And Shiley says, for sure, Friday next week. Thursday works, but I wouldn't stream there. All right, let's go. On stream, Shiley said she had something that day. She dodged a collab and that it was a dentist appointment. But then says she didn't have the appointment on the day of the collab, but the day after the dentist, she didn't want to collab. Well, here's Shiley's tweet about her dentist appointment from 3/8/2025. That's not 3/15 or 3/21. Shiley says, managed to sit through the dentist appointment without a panic attack for the first time on March 8th. She says, I'm so very happy. Still gonna take today off. I had to lock in so bad. I'm so freaking beat and exhausted now. I'm sorry, my shrimpies. And then Sinder responds saying, so proud of you, girl. That's me with doctors too. So then, before anything else, Shiley said, and the other one, yeah, I dodged. Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, one of them I did because that one I already knew. And the other one, yes, I dodged. She said she dodged one collab with the excuse that she already knew, and another collab just because. So what Red said about dodging collabs wasn't slander like she lied about. The other collab I believe she's referring to is this one that never happened from 327 that was shown in Shiley's section. This is the where it says Shiley can't make it, and then so and such remove Shiley from the group. So if one collab was dodged in 312 and 321 and the other collab being planned on 327 was dodged, how could Shiley use the excuse that she already knew? What happened between Nano and Red from their conversation on 412? But this is what she said next. And Shiley says here, but you know what's weird? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. What about the 6 other people who were just looking at me dodging and going, oh, okay, she's busy? It's kind of weird that the only person that had a reason to be weary was actually weary. What about the 6 other people that I also just left hanging where I said, sorry, I'm busy? They just took it and they were like, okay, or just replace someone else. Cool. You know, it's called projection because she freaking knew. She knew. The only collab Shiley could be talking about is the Repo collab from 321. First, let me address why she thinks I was concerned and weary. The day of the collab, we were told Shiley wasn't going to make it because of a Bikini Bottoms collab she had that day. Because we rescheduled this collab once for another friend. I thought we were going to reschedule again for Shiley so she could play with us. That's all. And then he says, I'm grabbing you guys at 10:50 a.m. later. Also think Lily might have to dip because she has Bikini Bottoms and other stuff going on that day. So I got another girly to fill. I'll see y'all in the morning. I eep. Cinder says, wait, are we rescheduling again? And they said, huh? What do you mean? The lobby doesn't start until 8. Remember? It's 7:35 a.m. PT. I also have a film. And Cinder says, oh, I thought we were going to have everyone here play. And then they say, it's me, you, and people. And she says, gotcha. It's like, yeah, all good. Just because Lily couldn't make it doesn't mean we can't cancel last minute. All good. So far, she said this collab was dodged because of a dentist appointment. Then it was the day after a dentist appointment, so she didn't feel it. Then it was because she already knew what happened over 2 weeks in the future somehow, when in reality it was because of a Bikini Bottoms collab that day. But did she dodge because of the Bikini Bottoms that day? No. It's true that Shiley had a Bikini Bottoms collab that day, but that was only at 2 p.m. EST. Our Repo collab was at 11 a.m. EST and lasted about 3 hours. Shiley would have been able to do both. Okay, but maybe she didn't want to stream that long. Shiley started her stream that day at 11 a.m. EST, just chatting for 3 hours until her Bikini Bottoms collab, while the rest of us played Repo without her. It says, bean hours until we hang out with Bikini Bottoms later. Here's the VOD of Shiley's stream with Bikini Bottoms starting about 3 hours in. She could have played with us, but she dodged. Why? I believe it was because Shiley already had something against me unrelated to anything to do with Nano and didn't want to platform me on her stream. The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concern as to why I'm dodging. Shiley dodged at least 2 collabs with me. Red did not lie to Nano and Shiley lied to everyone saying it was slander. She admitted to it herself on stream. So anyways, I was accused of dodging, which somewhat fairly I did do once. Shiley says, anyways, I was accused of not acknowledging her when she raids and like, oh, sorry. You know, when Buff raided me earlier, I'm sorry for not calling Buff's full government freaking Twitch TV name. Buff Puff of Twitch TV, thank you so much for your raid and bring your community from Buff Puff from Twitch TV over here. Like, I know I get to, like, now I get to say it. When she raided, she is center freaking stage. I am pausing my sponsor to talk to her. Like, I'm having a normal ass reaction to a raid like I have with everyone. Oh, sorry, I didn't say of Vichiban. Sorry, Buff Puff from Twitch TV of Vichiban. There we go. My bad, my bad. Sorry, can't make mistakes like that. I don't want to be a snake, you know? Gotta get the full government name out there because apparently people don't feel grace. Otherwise, people don't feel like they did a good job reading you. Like, damn, I'm sorry. Next, Shiley talks about the times I raided her and made a petty joke out of it. Here's what Red said. And here are the 2 raids to Shiley. And here, Shiley greeted the raiders but didn't say hi or thank me for the raid. Again, Shiley greeted the raiders and didn't say hi or thank her for the raid. The first thing she says was, like, now I get to say it. When she raided, she is center freaking stage. I am pausing my sponsor to talk to her. But at the start of both of these raids, Shiley said both of her sponsorships had already ended. We were sponsored, but the game was really fun, so I just kept playing. And we had a sponsor earlier. Oh, we do. No, we don't have a sponsor anymore. Turns out she didn't have to pause her sponsor to talk to me, as if that was her excuse to not say hi and thank me for sending her my community. Then she said, like, I'm having a normal ass reaction to a raid like I have with everyone. So what is a normal reaction to a raid from Shiley? Here's a bunch of raids Shiley received in the same time frame as my 2 raids were. You can see how she reacted to them compared to mine. And then we will go ahead and we'll do this one since this happened while Shiley was in the middle of a sponsored segment.
I haven't been to the grocery store in over a year, but I'm eating healthier than ever. Here's how I did it. Meal planning used to be such...
How to the Raiders? Oh, Raiders! Oh, Kira! Thank you for the raid! Hello, Raiders! We're playing Path of Exile. It's not my first time playing, but today is sponsored though. I had a hardcore solo style found run before. It's been really fun, and then it asked me to sponsor. But I was like, okay. What's this block?
And just for reference, we'll do this one as well.
We're playing some Honkai Star Rail. We had a sponsor earlier. Oh, we do. No, we don't have a sponsor anymore. It's been like an hour since. I'm catching up in Honkai. It's really cool. I got the dragon lady. Hello, Pyro Poppers. What did you guys do? Look at Pops. I wish I had more time to play. Like, there's too many games I love deeply.
There's a straightforward way Shiley thanks raids, the same way any streamer does. It's more or less a variation of blank, thank you for the raid. So why were my raids different unless she had a problem with me? Even for my raid on 3/30/2025, it's like Shiley had to catch herself from how she normally greet a raid and then choose not to greet me or thank me. Only later does she do so, catching herself again. This was not about some kind of narcissistic entitlement or feeling graced by her or her not using my 2-syllable full government Twitch TV name Sinder. There is a clear difference from how she treated me from other raiders. Unless you generally miss it or are unable to, I believe you should thank someone for raiding your stream. It's common courtesy. Red wasn't slandering Shiley to Nano about this, and Shiley lied about it. Just as an example, here's how Shiley would react to my raids in the past, this one being from the start of the year on 1/4/2025.
Sinder! Oh my goodness! Hello, Pyro Puppies! I am having a Subnautica marathon. It's not a subathon or anything. Like, I'm literally just playing until I finish the game. That's it.
And this one from last year on 11/20/2024.
But if you get good enough at this, you can ward off attacks from just about anything, and potentially even open up opportunities for counterattacks. Put all this together, and you come to understand what a house cat build truly is.
That's actually so
a house
sick.
cat
What
is
the
what
fuck?
you get when you fuse the deadliness of a snake with the energy of a
Thank
mammal.
you so much for the...
But why does this playstyle make for...
Hello, Sinder! Thank you for Rado! Thank you. Hello, beautiful. I hope you had a beautiful, fine evening.
And here are the messages she sent me after this raid. I in no way expected something like this every time I raided Shiley or anyone else. Shiley says, thank you for the raid, Queen. I go eep now. It means the world to me. Sleep well. Cinder says, you've been killing it, Lily. Have a good sleep. And Shiley says, thank you so freaking much. Came in so clutch too. My shit OBS kept crashing and being awful during these late hours, and I was in such a poor mood. You cheered me right back up. Thank you for thinking of me. And Cinder said, dude, I've been having problems like that lately too, and it sucks that there's not much to do to fix it. I'm so happy I had good timing. Shiley says, yeah, I hate when I can't fix things. I'm also easily frustrated by technical stuff, especially when it seems like I have no control over it. You made my night. Seeing you pop in made me so much happier again right away. Honestly saved me a real shit bedtime. And Cinder said, you're so sweet. I can relate to that so much, but either way, I've always got your back. Shiley in her stream says, them saying I've been weird ever since V-Card, which also isn't true. We've literally done a collab ever since. We've talked ever since. I contacted her for technical issues that you guys said she also had ever since. Cinder says, the last collab Shiley and I were in together was on February 5th, 2025, 4 days after our V-Card collab when the game launched. The only times we talked about that was when she turned me down for a collab on March 3rd, 2025, messaged me because she needed my help on 311, and then in the group chat for the repo collab she dodged. That's it. To say this generalized claim for Red was an issue is ridiculous. Shiley then goes on to say, it's just, just a bunch of stuff that makes me sound weird and competitive when, again, reflecting. That one screenshot started it all, and that was from a point of view a few days ago. That one screenshot. That one, and I was like, that's effed up. And I gave Nano the receipts of it's not true. I did say, oh, did I ghost her in the DM once? I didn't see the DM, but somehow before Nano worked on my 3.0 model, that wasn't a problem. That bunch of stuff was all true. So does that mean Shiley was weird and competitive towards me? Shiley said that screenshot of Red's DMs that started it all were from at that point a few days ago. So not 5 or so days ago, like she claimed earlier. Shiley said she gave Nano the receipts of it's not true. I don't know what she would have shown Nano to convince Red was lying to her about these things, since they were all true, but she did somehow. Shiley said she ghosted my DM once and that she didn't see it, saying it wasn't a problem before Nano worked on her new model. Once again admitting to something that Red said she was doing, that she lied to everyone saying it was slander. Her ghosting me was a problem before Nano was working on her 3.0 model. That's why Red told Nano about it. Like I said to Shiley's section, there wouldn't have been any reason for Red to suspect Shiley getting a model from Nano if at the time she wasn't ghosting me, almost all the other things she was doing. From the first message she ghosted to when she talked about Nano about Red was 17 days ago, and I had sent her 3 messages in that time. These were showed in the Shiley document. Shiley says, everyone who is in contact with me, anyone who's close, even my viewers, everyone knows I suck at Discord. I'm very distant. I'm very messy. I don't check often and I'm not very thorough. So, and she knows that too because it happened last year as well. She knows it too. It's why we have a group chat with her and Bosca and me in it. So she wants to plan something? Hello. So she wants to plan something. She knows where to go and she has used it in the past recently for V-cards and stuff. Cinder says, I had no problems communicating directly with Shiley on Discord for almost 6 months to talk and plan things, not going through Broshka at all. And then all of a sudden there was a problem. The V-cards and stuff she claims were through our group chat with him is a lie. I planned our V-card collab directly with Shiley in our DMs that you read through entirely in that section. Shiley says, you don't know every message I send on your behalf, obviously. Oh yeah, I forgot. Bosca operates completely independent and I have absolutely no knowledge of anything happening ever. I just want this to be public knowledge, so if I get canceled, I can throw him under the bus. Even when there are screenshots proving that I clearly am aware and I'm confirming and doubling down and siding with him. I just want you guys to know. Petty. So anyways, yes, I am guilty of dodging a collab because I simply didn't freaking feel like it. And yes, I am guilty of ghosting 2 messages where she asked for a collab, which by the way, she also only does when there is something business related. AFK drop, V-card drop, any event, any debut, any announcement, any merch, then I'm important. Then we can network. Cinder says, Shiley again admits to dodging a collab, this time settling on the didn't freaking feel like it excuse. Now she said she's guilty of ghosting 2 of my messages, not 1 like she just said. Shiley claims I only ask for collabs when there's something business related involved, as if I was trying to profit off of her presence. She should know that claim is BS, since one of the last times she responded to me was when I asked her to play Split Fiction on March 3rd, 2025, completely removed from any new drops or debuts. But let's look at the other times I asked her to collab too. I explained my motivations for these 2 collabs in Shy Lily's section. She ghosted them. On April 4th, I had my Sleepy Model debut and AFK merch drop. That had nothing to do with wanting to collab with her for either of those. The VCAR collab on February 1st was explained in the section of the document. Yes, it was obviously a business-motivated collab, but I also wanted to get to know Shy Lily better over something I thought we'd both be excited about. Besides these, there were 2 other times I had ever asked Shy Lily to collab. Once in 2023 and once in 2024. That's it. I didn't know Shy Lily super well and always assumed she was really busy. I had to go through Bosca to plan with her and never wanted to bother her. In both cases, it took weeks if not months to actually make plans. The first time I asked to collab was right after seeing her at TwitchCon Paris in 2023, which I just so happened to have my Demon Model debut already planned for right after my trip. And it had nothing to do with asking Shy Lily to do something together. It's 7/13/2023. Sinder says, it was so nice meeting you in person, Lily. You're such a sweetheart. I know you're probably tired from the convention and traveling, but would you want to play a game with me in the next couple of weeks? After my debut this weekend will be two-win rigging half-sisters. There's this super cute co-op rage game I've been wanting to play with someone if you're interested. And the game's Bread and Fred. And then Sinder messaged Bosca since Shy Lily didn't respond. And my Demon Model debut was on 7/15/2023, and this collab was on 8/30/2023. The second time I asked to collab was for my anniversary subathon in June 2024, since I was asking friends to come on my stream for it. She wasn't able to, so I asked to plan something for July instead. After not hearing back for a month, I messaged again, asking about a Nikkei collab at the end of August after my bikini model debut was planned. Shy Lily had been using her new bikini model all year, and was the only one of my VTuber friends who was really into Nikkei like me. What better way to do this Nikkei collab but in bikinis together? And Sinder said, hey guys, hope you're doing well. Are you coming to US cons this year? I was wondering, Lily, if you'd be down available to collab on my stream sometime during my subathon after June 21st. I was thinking either another funny game like the last one we played, or we can do a Nikkei tier list since I know you're a Nikkei girly too. And Bosca says, hey, we'll be going to TwitchCon NA. Sadly, Lily won't be able to join during that time since we'll be preparing for TwitchCon EU. Sponsors wanted to work with us just before we go with our break. Sinder said, thank you, Bosca, no problem. I'd love to try planning something in July if that works too. I'm excited to see you guys later this year. And then Sinder says, hey guys, I was wondering if Lily, you'd be free sometime in the second half of August to do a bikini collab during the Nikkei Hotness tier list. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And you did so good with Miss RGB. I really hope you continue doing more music. If you want to do something musically together, I think we could pull off a really cool rock song. And then my bikini model debut was on 8/16, and this collab was on 9/5/2024. Shy Lily goes on to say, so I'm guilty of that, but like I said, I would like to excuse myself from those 2 sins because she knows better. It's been a thing last year, and last year it wasn't a problem. Only until Nano worked on me, it was a problem. Sinder says, so on her very first stream after I was canceled, Shy Lily admitted to ghosting me, admitting to dodging collabs with me, and made a joke out of me raiding her. The reason any of this happened was because Shy Lily lied and told Nano Red was slandering her, and she was being manipulated by him. Then Nano's document repeated that the things he said about Shy Lily were lies and slander. Well, all of those slanderous lies were true. I showed they were true. Shy Lily herself admitted they were true, and here we are. So why did she lie about them? Shy Lily said she'd like to excuse herself from those 2 sins she admitted to, and then she blamed her actions on me because I should have known better. Taking no accountability, deflecting, narcissistic manipulation, all the things Shy Lily projected onto me. Shy Lily goes on to say, anyways, long story short, that was the one message that got everything rolling because I explained that's weird, that's cringe and manipulative to do and bother Nano with. If she has a problem, why not come to me? And boy, that's where it started. That's where poor Nano realized that there's more such incidents, and if this is weird, she has critical thinking. And she's like, if this is weird, are the others also weird? The ones where she literally is on the screenshot says she feels bad for doing all these things she's being asked to do. That's where it started, and obviously me being a friend, I talked to Nano, and I was like, Nano, I'm going to be honest, some of the stuff you have here is heartbreaking. I'm thankful for you showing this to me, but I heartily encourage you to share this with people affected, especially Bao, because you know that one nasty one where she sabotages Bao, especially that one. And Nano, the freaking Giga Chat, agreed. She agreed. Shy Lily makes a point that I should have just talked to her, not go to Nano. But I didn't go to Nano. Red did. As much as Shy Lily wanted to push the idea, Red and I are not the same person. When I was ready to confront Shy Lily about what was going on, I did. She never responded because she was already in the middle of organizing my cancellation. Did poor Nano realize there were more incidents, or did Shy Lily ask her if there were more? And what did Red ask Nano to do that she supposedly felt bad about? Nothing. Shy Lily highly encouraged Nano to share these things with Bao, but Shy Lily was the one who had to reach out to Bao herself. Nano may have agreed, but she couldn't do it without Shy Lily's help. Shy Lily then says, so we made a group chat like a few days later because Bao had surgery, so it took a while. We made a group chat. Can you imagine that Giga Chad freaking whale comes out of surgery and has to deal with this? That group chat we used to expose everything, not just, from Nano's messages and having to deal with her manipulation, but we also came to realize that everything that happened to us individually weren't those. Those weren't isolated incidences where you're like, well, F, it happens. Sometimes you do something that you regret. Sometimes you call your friend a bitch. Sometimes you throw a friend under another bus in the heat of the moment. Hopefully you regret doing that, but that's a different story. But we realized that it wasn't just a coincidence. It wasn't just one incident. It wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a year-long pattern. Everything connected. It was a pattern that consisted over years that just kept going nonstop, And that's when we knew this is effed up. In respect to my friends, we all decided after all of the receipts and obviously being very emotionally unstable to sleep over it for a night. Obviously, we were all ready for blood. We were like, what the frick? No way. But we still decided to sleep a night over it. Give it one night. Let's sleep over it one night. The next day, once everyone was awake and had time to deal with their emotions, we all still knew this has to happen. Like, I'm sorry, but sleeping over this just made it so much more clear that this can't be. And this is where I noticed this isn't just to expose what she's done to us. This is to expose the fact that she is doing these things and who. This is speculation. This is complete speculation. But if that's the stuff that happens in the circle, what else could happen? A pattern is a pattern. Again, speculation, but we were like, how we would feel terrible knowing that she conducts business throughout the next couple of years, hurting more people like this. Can't do. No. It turns out it was a bit bigger than just our group. Google Docky. Turns out it was just a bit bigger than our group. And so we all knew she was going to throw her manager under the bus. We all freaking knew. We all. When you look at the screenshots and you know her and you see the manipulation, the first freaking thing you know is she'll throw her manager under the bus. Everything went live and you know what she's done? The first thing they both did, they messaged Nano going, Nano, please. You know what the absolute freaking Giga Chad did? Blocked. Sinder responds, obviously we were all ready for blood. On her stream, Bao didn't sound like she was ready for blood. Was Shy Lily projecting that bloodlust onto everyone involved so it didn't sound like she was the weird and problematic one? Or was Bao putting on a performance for the audience? But we still decided to sleep over it overnight. Give it one night. We all still knew this had to happen. With the limited misinformation they got from Nano, Shy Lily ready for blood, pushing things along, and my friends using their confirmation bias from a few other past experiences, they chose to cancel me over one night without ever contacting me. Shy Lily then says, but then the next evening, the quote-unquote apology dropped. And one part struck me specifically because she very clearly, first of all, isn't a freaking apology. But it wasn't even an apology. It was, I'm sorry you feel this way. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry you got caught in this. I'm sorry I was manipulated into hurting you. F of an apology, bro. And one thing that struck me specifically is when she dedicated a section to me and someone else. First of all, okay, I am petty. I didn't even get a section for myself. I'm going to be super petty. Not even a section for myself. For someone that is so upset for me not naming her full freaking government Twitch TV name. For someone to just put me in a document as Lily when previously referring to me as the other gamer subs owner. I don't even have a section for myself with my name properly freaking written. Come on, bro. Don't be such a hypocrite. You don't get to be upset at that shit and then put me there, throw me in there and be like, I'm so sorry, I had no knowledge of this. And that's when I got mad because no knowledge my ass. But here's the problem. A lot of what we know is hearsay because the girls spend time together. Vacation, travel, blah, 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 Cinder then responds, Shy Lily complained that she didn't get her own section in the apology, as if anything was actually done to her. My 2-syllable name and a thank you was too much to ask for after reading my friend. I didn't refer to Shy Lily as the other gamer subs owner. Red did. Separate person. Shy Lily says, I don't even get a section for myself with my name properly freaking written. Come on, bro, don't be such a hypocrite. Cinder says, I don't get to be upset at the petty actions towards me because I called her Lily. This is extremely narcissistic. Shy Lily says, Chad, it's just business. It's just, I'm making a living. It's just business. I'm sorry, it's just business. Cinder says it's petty. Shy Lily says, I don't know where I was, but let me just say this section that she dedicated to Cotton to me. She said, sorry for not having any knowledge of this. And that's where I kind of got mad because, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we posted about is only stuff we have hard-coded receipts for. Obviously, there's lots of experience that doesn't exist on paper. It's only a private experience, but there's also more receipts, verifiable receipts that weren't added to the doc because either they're smaller things that just only really become a problem when added up, or they were a little too private to be shared. Cinder responds, like I said already, if more proof of their claims existed and wasn't shown due to it containing personal info like she claimed, they could have censored it. My private messages with Numi are the only thing I can imagine she's talking about. If it is that, and Numi wanted to keep it private, then Shy Lily chose to basically talk about Numi's concert in her tweet and on her stream against Numi's wishes because she knew how talking about it would make me look. Shy Lily then says, for her to claim she has no knowledge when I know for a fact she does, but I have no proof other than hearsay, it reminded me of that one fact. The one receipt we do have, though, where she herself personally throws me under the bus, and I made sure to quote her on my own words because, again, the screenshot isn't public. But I made sure to quote her words. She'll know what we're talking about. Those quotation marks, the literal quote. I made sure she knows what I'm talking about, what I'm referring about. The screenshot isn't there, but there's a couple like that. And the fact that you only took accountability for stuff that's been published and not the stuff that we kept hidden enough for me to have her use me as part of an excuse as to why she had to let her friend down. That very same friend that spent months of prep, hard work, and effort and received a million empty promises just because a couple days before she wanted to reschedule a V-Card collab to, make a nice big boom as a collab and send a bunch of boxes to make some bag. Yeah, imagine for a freaking collab. Could have had the collab any other day too. Could have had been a day or two earlier. Could have been a day or two later. She rescheduled that collab to be on that date. She put it there on that date and that she knew that she couldn't. And the only time she ever felt sorry in both the apology and before, guess what? When she was put in her freaking place. People saying, why didn't you handle this privately? We did once. We did. And she's only deflecting and pretending to be apologetic when put on the spot. No proper apology from her before the crash. None. She's only sorry when she gets caught. Because she knows freaking with that friend that she fricked with will mean the end of her career. Because if you're not good standing with that person, you're not good standing with probably 80% of the indies that matter to her. Because she is the glue that keeps them freaking together half the time. She wasn't sorry because she fricked over her friend's opportunity on a day that she said she'll be there. She was sorry she was caught in the true narcissistic, selfish, egotistic fashion. She's sorry she got caught. Cinder responds to, for her to claim she has no knowledge when I know for a fact she does, but I have no proof. Shy Lily had no proof I knew anything. She just knew I did, but pushed everything to be made public anyway. Shy Lily is talking about Numi's concert here, but never shows anything about it. The quote she used in her reply to me was from my private conversation with Numi. Pressure to live up to what Lily is. Shy Lily expected me to take public accountability for an already privately settled situation, once again falsely claiming that I used her as an excuse and that it was all about the money to me. When I asked why she didn't handle this privately, Shy Lily said, we did once. We did. She's talking about my private apology to Numi about her concert, which ended with me taking accountability and trying to make things right, and Numi forgiving me. They didn't handle anything privately before. Shy Lily didn't handle anything privately. But then she wanted to imply that because Red said we in his message to Nano, it meant I knew of and agreed to everything he said. Once again putting standards on me that she wasn't holding herself to. I believe Shy Lily was the one who was pushing everyone not to handle any of this privately. Here are my final messages with Shy Lily, Nano, and Bao. Just to make it clear, the person Shy Lily said you need to be in good standing with is Numi. Shy Lily also said she was sorry she was caught in true narcissistic, selfish, egotistical fashion. She's sorry she got caught. Shy Lily says, oh, let me platform the very same person that tried to deplatform me and all of my friends that helped her get there to begin with. Let me just continue to platform that one person that tried to backstab us when begging to be in our positions. F no. Throwing me and gamer subs under the bus to save her ass? F no. All the pressure I feel. What pressure? The pressure you begged for? The pressure you told them you wanted to have? The responsibility you asked for? where you wanted to be alongside me? F no. What pressure? Hell no. F off my bro. No, Red and I didn't try to deplatform Shy Lily, all of my friends or anyone else. None of either of our actions remotely came close to that. Shy Lily did that to me. The most anyone was backstab was in the deal Red made with Nano behind my back, and I already went over how that really played out. If there was any evidence of me trying to deplatform and backstab any of my friends, why didn't Shy Lily show that at all? Then talking about Numi's concert again, I blamed her. Then talking about Numi's concert again, says I blamed her and gamer subs when I didn't. It didn't happen. She goes on to talk about the pressure I was under when I made that decision. No, I didn't beg for that pressure. I didn't beg for my part ownership position like she claims. I was surprised with the offer from gamer subs because of my performance with the company, and I accepted it. By what she claims, Shy Lily seems to agree that the position did come with pressure and responsibility. The same pressure and responsibility that led to me making my decision about the concert. Shy Lily says, Chat, you're not the only person that says, I always had a feeling. I know lots of you are probably men, so you wouldn't maybe quite get it. But as a woman, you can't not get along with another woman based on a gut feeling. You can't do that. You're a catty bee. You can't do that. You can't not get along with someone because of no reason, when they prove to be everything but a threat. You can't do that. I'm sure it happens with guys too, maybe. You can't just be like, nah, she's too nice. You can't do that. What the F kind of reason is she being too nice to not like someone? You can't do that. So most people stay back usually when you have a gut feeling. In my case anyways. Usually when you have a gut feeling, you stay back and you observe. You take distance. I'm very distant, very in my own lane kind of person to begin with. I'm very distant, very minding my own business, very just me and myself time, you know? Usually you stay back and then you observe for an entire year of how nothing goes wrong and how your friends like that friend and how everything seems peachy. And then you're like, you know what? My gut feeling is freaking ass. I freaking knew it. Shouldn't have trusted it. You know what? Should have trusted it. Yeah. I'm sure guys can also be catty, yeah. But yeah, I can't always trust my gut because I also have gut feelings about people where I'm like, you know what? That was unnecessary. I was just already cautious based on nothing. And this is Shy Lily told her chat she's always had a bad gut feeling about me. And then Shy Lily goes on to say, long story short, VTuber makes friends in the VTuber space. Friends appreciate having a friend. Turns out they were never a friend. They never intended or wanted to be friends. It was never about friendship. It was always about climbing the career ladder. Said friend, let's call her Snake. Said friend sabotaged, backstabbed, and manipulated behind the scenes. When everything came out because of the first screenshot leaking, followed by more stuff leaking, everyone got together and realized, wow, we've been effed for the last couple years. Interesting. Anyways, fast forward, Google Docky. Fast forward, apology with a ukulele. And I kind of crashed out because how freaking dare you take zero accountability? All she had to do. You want a good apology for when you F up? VTubers, future streamers, write this stuff down. You ever mention apology for when you actually F up, for when you are the bad person? Just say, I'm freaking sorry I acted this way. But greed has caused a lot of damage. Greed that got me from growing too fast and being too filthy rich by riding on my friends' backs instead of seeing how grateful I was supposed to be for it. I saw them as nothing but an asset. I've been truly blinded by how absolutely malicious, vile, and toxic I've treated them behind the scenes, pretending to be friends while separating business and sabotaging them. I can never repair the damage I caused, and I see now clearly what it truly means to lose everything that you were supposed to be grateful for. I take some time away and hope to better myself. I'll never be able to repair what I've broken, but I can try and come forward to be a better person in hopes to have learned from this absolutely awful thing that I've done and my most closest and most supportive, loving friends that are the sole reason I have this platform to begin with. Boom. Just own up to it. Take some accountability. Just be like, yeah, I've been a bad person. Yeah, I've been a freaking ass. Yeah, I've been blinded. So blinded by my success and money and greed for even more. The greed was unbearable. Yes, I'm terrible. Done. Of course, I wouldn't freaking believe her. What the frick? Manipulator. Freaking of course not. Obviously not. But it's the only way to set things right. You can't fix them, but it's the only way to set things right and to maybe not be a freaking laughing stock for like the next half a year. Sinder says, Shy Lily's summary of what happened is a complete lie. Then she presents how she thinks I should have apologized for the things she decided I did, falsely framing me as greedy from growing too fast and being too filthy rich. This is coming from Shy Lily. Shy Lily then says, yeah, the way she barely acknowledged her fan base in her apology. What the frick? She gave you guys one freaking line. She gave you one freaking line. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel bad with me. Like, what? Girl, holy shit. Crazy. So at the very end of the docky, the Google docky, you get a little quick, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I'm sorry you feel this way. What can I say? It's shrimply business. Yeah, shrimply business. It is what it is. Cheers. She continues to turn my audience against me in a string of petty insults. I'm sorry that when I was being attacked publicly from all sides by everyone I knew, the focus of what I wrote wasn't on my community. Shiley says she saw me as competition, painted it on me for asking for it by wanting a model from the same model mama, which is a bit weird when she's the one begging for a partial owner and all kinds of other things that she wants from me. But hey, somehow I'm the one who's looking for trouble and wanting a new model. Sinder says, I didn't see Shy Lily as competition, and Red's view was more than just going to Nano for a model. If she treated me like a friend, it wouldn't have been something he brought up to her. She claimed I was begging for partial ownership and all kinds of other things I wanted from her. That's wild. Not only did she have nothing to do with my part ownership, as if she had the power to give it to me, not once have I ever said anything about that to her, ever. All kinds of other things I wanted from her. To hang out and get to know her? I never begged Shy Lily for anything. What a narcissistic thing to say. Shy Lily goes, maybe they'll just rebrand Cinder's flavor into it's just business and might still sell. Petty. Shy Lily then says, yes, queen, show us nothing, address nothing, shift all the blame, and on top of that, only apologize for the shit that's public and not all the other stuff you've done. I didn't know the things that my man said and also the things I've done myself, all by myself, that you guys have receipts of, but you didn't post them, so I didn't know and didn't apologize for them. Yes, queen, shift the blame. Shy Lily was the one who was expecting me to publicly take accountability for everything and anything I've ever done, like what happened with Numi's concert, even though it was already settled privately between us. Shy Lily says, I will not deny that obviously you won't always know every single thing, the ins and outs of every single detail and word, but be for real. To sit and pretend that your man and manager handles everything for you without you knowing a singular freaking be for real. Like, obviously, there's going to be situations where you might generally get effed over by what someone else is doing and you didn't know. But not for years, not for so long, not for every single thing. When you yourself have receipts of doubling down and doing the same thing also in person, but that's hearsay. So can't put it in a Google Docie, but we know better. Red is with Sinder like 24/7, and we've seen proof them share messages by going like, here, check this out. Like, but again, like I said, this isn't proof. This is hearsay. I understand. But this topic is beyond just you guys and seeing what she's done. It's also just personal stuff that bleeds into it, obviously, right? So it's clearly also hearsay. Obviously, there will be some hearsay to say, but the Google Docie only has receipts. They obviously only have receipts. They only talk truth. They only talk facts. Only receipts. But obviously, there's more from spending so much time, travels, and vacations together. Shiley says you won't always know every single little thing, in reference to me knowing about Red's messages. But the standard of knowing everything was unfairly applied to me when it mattered. Shiley also claimed this was going on for years when it wasn't. She says the times my friends saw us sharing messages on our phones in person prove I knew everything. Shiley said the documents, nanos, and bows only talk truth, they only talk facts. Shiley says it's a long story. Long story short, a friend of our friend circle that has been a friend for many years turned out to never have been a friend. We were just stepping stones in her career ladder, and like it wasn't enough to just step over us. She wanted to also just burn the freaking ladder down that she climbed. This is a blatant lie, and it's not true at all. I believe Shiley must have been the one who convinced my friends of this. Shiley also says, also crazy what happened to Silver. Crazy. The shit she sold us. The shit she said. I knew it wasn't the truth because I've heard the exact opposite story. But when she goes on and on for years, you eventually feel like that one story you've heard isn't true. You start to doubt the source. You're like, really? Is that? To hate someone on such a deep level that literally doesn't talk to you, doesn't hurt you, doesn't do anything to you, doesn't get in your way, minds their own business. Yeah, same for spite. Sinder says, I've never said anything about Silverveil to Shy Lily. I don't know how she can claim she knew it wasn't the truth, unless she heard the opposite story from Silverveil herself. Everything I told my other friends about mine and Red's experience with Silver was true, and it's all laid out in her section of this document. Both of us had no reason to lie to them about her. You'll see how I really felt about Silverveil and how our relationship played out in this section. Shiley says, yeah, luckily somehow I've never known about the spite situation. Completely oblivious. But then again, I wasn't nearly as close. Didn't spend nearly as much time with her as my other friends. But that was somehow still enough to see me as a freaking threat, even though I've done nothing but platform her whenever she asks to be platformed. Sinder says the only time she platformed me and streamed any of our collabs herself was our V-Card collab on February 1st, 2025. Other than that, the few times we've done anything together, it's always been on my stream. I platformed her more than she ever did me, with her dodging the repo collab possibly so she wouldn't platform me. Shylily says, man, why? The craziest part to me is you're the face of VTubing. Why do you still have to quench and squelch the very friends that put you there between your toes? You've got it all. You're burning these bridges for like the last 2-3%. Like what? Like, do you not do any self-reflecting? Look at your freaking YouTube. Every single video is about someone. It's never about you. And there's nothing wrong with it. Some people simply operate better on bouncing off of personalities. But to have messages demanding recognition from people you despise and sabotage because you're bigger and better than them and got there on your own. Sinder says, yes, my YouTube channel is made of videos of me and my friends, but everything Shylily said here is a lie. I wasn't burning bridges. I wasn't demanding recognition. I wasn't sabotaging anyone. The things she's referring to here and completely mischaracterizing are from something Brett said about Silvervale once in July of 2023. She's talking as if they were my own words, that it somehow applies to other people other than Silvervale, and is relevant to my own actions almost 2 years after the fact. Shylily says, hello, Yoshi. Oh, sorry. I must acknowledge people by their full legal government name or else I'm misbehaving. Petty. Shylily says, God, I was just so angry. Every paragraph of that was just deflecting. You know what also hit me really wrong? You know what hit me in the wrong way? All the damage she caused to specifically Spite and Silver. All the damage she caused. All the bad-mouthing. All the sabotaging career things. All she did was me being called these things caused me to do it. Me being manipulated by the hate caused me to do it. What about everything you caused? Every paragraph was just deflecting, kind of like how Shylily deflected her actions to Nano to begin with, and then after admitting to them on the stream, blamed it on me. Shylily makes a good point here. What about everything I or Red caused to Silvervale and Spite? Well, I've laid out everything that was caused to either of them in the start of this document in the accountability section. You'll see it in their own sections too. You'll also see all the things I didn't cause, but the public was told I caused. You already saw Nano canceling Silver's model in November 2023, but blaming it on me, and Silvervale and Spite made plenty of their own claims too that are addressed in their sections. Shylily says, what destroyed me was Bao being sad in the same group chat Sinder was in about her model being canceled. Yeah, imagine. Didn't even have the balls to freaking say anything. You know what? Because she knew what she was doing was freaking wrong. She knew. Wrong again, but Shylily seems to know a lot about having the balls to say something when she can never say anything herself. Shylily says, like in your own words, it's just business. I'm sorry, but then in true business fashion, you're going to have to take responsibility for what happens in your business just like everyone else. If someone truly gets effed over, if someone truly does something behind your back, well, you can't just be like, it wasn't me, and throw your hands in the air and be like, well, too bad. Shylily's use of it's just business was obviously not the same use of the phrase. Shylily says, we found out like freaking 5 days ago, collected the evidence for a day, and then slept over it for a day to reality. Because we realized we have career-ending freaking evidence. So we went to freaking bed, then posted it. Shylily again lies about the timeline of events. She found out about this 2 weeks ago, not 5 days ago. 5 days ago was when Shylily and Nano told Bao after her surgery. They actually didn't have career-ending freaking evidence, but because Nano lied to everyone and everything Red said was projected onto me, I believe Shylily used the little evidence she had to make sure it ended my career. Shylily says, you know what? Again, I'm not even upset at your friend because he probably sees this, and just like the people before, is he just being successfully manipulated? I want to be mad and be like, what the F is wrong with you? Chances are your friend's probably just some very naive young guy or girl and goes, I don't think that's enough. And I'm like, well, give it a few more years. Go see the real world and you'll see the absolute audacity, narcissistic manipulation in all of this. If you don't see anything wrong with blank, proof of someone sabotaging the friends that platformed them, I don't know what. I don't know, man. Shylily told a viewer that their friend was naive for asking more evidence of the claims made against me. It's really funny that Shylily said to give it a few more years because they'd see the absolute audacity, narcissistic manipulation in all this, because it only took 5 months to make the narcissistic manipulation abundantly clear. Throughout her whole stream trashing me, Shylily avoided accountability, gave excuses, deflected, and made jokes out of the things she was doing while simultaneously admitting to everything she claimed was slander and manipulation that turned Nano against me in the first place. Shylily didn't care about the lies she was telling about me on stream. She won and celebrated my cancellation. She couldn't help but take a victory lap around my corpse. Says a lot about her narcissistic character. Accountability only mattered to her when it was the other way around. I should have known better than to expect the Shy Lily to hold herself to the same standards as she did. Snake. Shy Lily is the only one who was involved that has a highlight video of her stream talking about me on her main YouTube channel. She was more than happy to profit off of this and broadcast her lies about me to her 1 million subscribers. What did Shy Lily have against me in the first place? Speculation. Shy Lily lied about me on her stream, lied about me in her reply, lied about me to my friends, and lied to Nano at the very start. The actions she said were slander she admitted to on stream. Clearly, Shy Lily had something against me before Red ever talked to Nano about her, according to her as early as March 21st, 2025, when she dodged the repo collab. So, what was her problem? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. Let's look at some of the things she said on her stream. She says, you don't have to give me biddies and shmoney, make me feel better. We're not like that in here. Oh, the Charizard and Blastoise a V-card thing. Oh, like, how dare you sit there and pretend you're some box legendary or something you didn't create. Disgusting. You burned your Sinder merch. These are all stuff that were mentioned previously in the document. Which, by the way, she also does when there's something business related. AFK job, V-card job, in any event, any debut, any announcement, any merch. Just because a couple of days before she wanted to reschedule a V-card collab to, you know, make a big boom and collab and sell a bunch of boxes to make some bag. The pressure you begged for, where you wanted to be alongside me. My greed has caused a lot of damage. Greed that got me from growing too fast and being too filthy rich by riding on my friends' backs. Yeah, I've been blinded. So blinded by my success and money and greed even more. The greed was unbearable. Which is a bit weird when she's the one begging for partial owner and all kinds of other things that she wants from me. Shy Lily viewed me as a very greedy person and that all my actions were due to my alleged greed. She encouraged viewers to donate any and all of my merch, but didn't dissuade from burning it either. Shy Lily also wants to make it seem like I begged to be in her position at Gamersubs as part owner, even begging her for it, as if I was jealous of her. Not because I actually earned it like she did. She seemed to have a very emotional outburst when talking about me calling myself the Charizard of VC card, or V card. Not that she'd know this, but for my debut anniversary for 6/25/2025, I was supposed to be releasing a limited edition tub of Pyro Power with my promo V card, but with art drawn by Nanolis. Red and I fought with Gamersubs to make my promo card the same card across all purchases instead of having it in 1/10 chance of getting the holographic one. It could have made so much more money if people needed to buy a bag of tubs to get the right card, but it wasn't about the money to me or Red. And then this is redacted saying, we didn't have a problem making the promo cards, all 9. The reasoning makes complete sense. Keep the 10 cards in the sets the most valuable. Our thought behind making all the promo cards hollow is that, at least with the way we're doing it, it's a $40 buy-in with Pyro Power and only 1 card per order. The goal behind enticing people with the promo card this way is to get people to have Pyro Power and become repeat buyers, not so the shiny cards can retain value on eBay. We'd rather have every customer be satisfied with a special shiny card than have 9/10 of them be disappointed that they didn't get the right card, especially if they don't like or have never had Pyro Power in the first place. If you're saying it'd be fine to make them all non-hollow, then what's the big deal if we make them all hollow instead? There'd only be a difference in the card's value if there was both, not one or the other. Our goal should be that no one's complaining about a free promotion. And Sinder says, yeah, I just want everyone to be satisfied with the card, even if they're not a huge fan of the flavor. And Sinder said, having them all 9 hollows is what I would want to do. A 1 out of 10 system doesn't feel fair when the fans are having to spend $40 for only a chance at the best version of the card. The VTA promo card was free, so having that gacha system was understandable. And the 1/10 Pyro Power label gacha system is just a bonus because people are still buying it for the drink itself. If I were to spend that much money on a drink I didn't enjoy for the card, I'd at least want to be satisfied with my purchase, knowing what I'm getting. It's a promo card, not a chase card. But let's look at more evidence of this besides what she said on her stream. The first message of mine Shy Lily ghosted was about another V card collab when the rules were updated. Sinder says, do you want to play the V card sim together sometime soon? I missed you during the repo collab last week. I hope you're doing well, Lily. The very next day on her stream, 3/29, Shy Lily received a TTS message about my then upcoming AFK flavor. The first thing she said was that she had nothing to do with my part ownership. And Shiley says, oh, because she's co-owner. That has nothing to do with me, bro. I don't have a saying that. That shit had nothing to do with me. Don't look at me, bro. That's got nothing to do with me. That's gamer subs. Leave me out of that shit. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Those are all gamer subs decisions. Then she says gamer subs has been begging her to make a new flavor. She goes into an almost 10-minute rant about how she's not all about the money, but that she has a bunch of things lined up she could release whenever she wants, but she's not like that. Pretty blatantly in contrast to the TTS message about me. This was well before Red ever talked to Nano about Shiley on April 12th. On her stream from April 29th, a day after talking about my cancellation, Shiley told her audience she highly suggests that the right thing for me to do is to give up my gamer subs part ownership. Shiley goes on to say, so this is pure speculation, okay? Like pure speculation. This hasn't happened yet, and I'm not in a position to talk to gamer subs about it to begin with either. Right, pure speculation. I highly doubt they would remove a flavor fully. I don't think they would remove her to shall not be named fully to begin with. I'm not sure how much business knowledge any of you guys have, but any amount of partial ownership makes it difficult to just force someone to step down. They can step down willingly, which I highly suggest she does. If she has any ounce of guilt, regret, or anything, she would do it herself to protect the others, to truly show that she cares about the others that have to forcibly associate with her, alongside her despite the damages she has caused in her careers. Not just morally and emotionally, but also financially. Like, debts can be expensive. If I had to guess where this is going, I think Gamer Subs is kind of forced to wait for her to return. I'm pretty sure she has I'm certain or a hope that she is currently far from the interwebs. So currently there isn't really anything you can do. But if I had to speculate on a few options that could happen, she comes back, surrenders her shares, and sells them at a fair market value. So she can protect the people who no longer wish to be associated alongside a brand that supports her, and she has once been the face of. Either she does this not only as a sign to show that she can and is bettering herself, and she is making decisions to start undoing some of the hurt by distancing herself from the ones she has hurt. So they no longer have to associate alongside her forcefully, or she does the opposite and we'll see. I don't know. Or she simply remains just an affiliate of the brand, not a bigger name, not in anything. She's just part of the affiliation. I want to make this clear. I reached my decision to give up on my part ownership myself, and Shiley had nothing to do with my choice. But Shiley said this as if I needed to repent for the lies she and others told about me. Gamer Subs had nothing to do with anything that happened, but that didn't stop Shiley from telling her viewers it was what she wanted me to do. Shiley really cared about the impact my part ownership would have had on Gamer Subs. She would have considered handling things privately with me instead of being the driving force in making all these lies public, losing the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. She's probably knew all this controversy about me would be a way to push me out of the company, while keeping her own hands clean. It wouldn't look good for Shiley to go after the other Gamer Subs owner, after all. 2 days after that stream, on May 1st, Shiley couldn't help herself and made an announcement in the VCar production server where the staff, VTubers, and artists developed the game, notifying everyone. She chose to involve the over 70 people in this server in what happened personally. I don't have a screenshot of the Discord notification or the full message because it was deleted shortly after it was made. However, I have a screenshot of my notification history from that day when it happened, showing a part of what was said. It says Twitch NA partners, front page applications are now open. Want to be featured on Twitch front page applications, June 2025 are open. Shiley says, love, it's a emote. Shiley says, hey crew, I know it's been a terrible effing week. I hope you're all holding up. I am not good with words and drama and emotions and all the business, but just want to say I feel sorry for you guys dealing with stuff that is none of your, and that's all we see. If Shiley wasn't trying to get everyone in the server involved, then no one would have to be dealing with stuff like she said. Here's the Discord channel it was in. Here's proof of the date on the screenshot. At some point, she even took the time to go back and delete her reply to my part ownership announcement. Not only did Shiley admit to always having a bad feeling about me, but I believe Shiley had a problem with me because of my performance in Gamer Subs. I was now part Omer, a title she exclusively held as a VTuber before me, something unique to her. I would always be planning and launching things with gamer subs, something she was unwilling to do, like she said on her stream from March 29th. She viewed that as a cash grab, as greedy, but I don't think just being a part owner was the problem. I think most importantly, she didn't like how enthusiastic I was about VCard, and the reason I was carving out for, and the role I was carving out for myself in it. Not only did I mistakenly give out information early when VCard launched, like I showed in that section, but mine became the most sought after card in her game. The Charizard of VCard. And this is a quote from Shylily saying that it was cringe that Sinder said that she's the Charizard and Shylily is the Blastoise of VCard. I call myself the Charizard to advertise myself in the game and advertise the cards themselves. Everyone knows Pokemon, and everyone knows Charizard. VCard's first set of cards is like Pokemon's base set. I compare myself and Shylily to the Charizard and Blastoise of the VTuber card game because we were the two VTuber part owners of gamer subs, like Pokemon Red and Blue. Calling myself this wasn't to try to steal her thunder in her game, or take credit for it anyway. I may have called her Blastoise, but she's literally the Pikachu of VCard. Shylily didn't like me calling myself the Charizard. She didn't like the prominence it gave me in her game, but gamer subs did. This is from one of my gamer subs contacts last December. We'll call him GS number 1. And they said, I figured I'd keep this here just so it helps keep the conversation in different places for different things. Here's our release schedule for VCard. All water element creators, VTuber Awards launch day announcement, all grass element creators, all fire elements, all electric elements, platinum elements, all support cards, and launch day video. Today in about 15 minutes, the water element video will go out. I'll link it right after this. That's it. Nothing much more than that. Fire is on 12/26, so that's when everyone will officially get to see the Charizard. The only other cool thing is this Saturday, the 14th of VTuber Awards, we are doing a VTuber Awards promo card. This is from another person at Gamer Subs, GS number 2, a few days before VCard launched on the 31st of January in 2025. And then this screenshot was taken on the 28th of January. And they said, really amazing how this massive project all came together, and what an honor to have you be a part of VCard. Can't wait to see everyone ripping packs in the search for the Charizard card of the set. Another message from Gamer Subs number 1 over a month after VCard launched. And this person said, hype to get it signed. Also, I don't know if you ever look at eBay, but you have become the VCard Charizard for sure. Like, it's going crazy. And here's a message from another person at Gamer Subs number 3. Charizard, $750. Out of the very few VTubers not returning in set 2 of VCard, I was one of them. However, that wasn't supposed to be the case. My 3 cards for set 2 were completed before I was canceled, and I was going to be a water type. I was told weeks after my cancellation that I had been removed from the lineup. Here's a cropped version of one of my card artworks that were unused. I may be wrong about this, but after I was canceled and removed, another VTuber who I didn't remember being a part of the set was able to be added and presumably fill my vacant water card slot.